We're back. BRAP is back after a 1 week hiatus. It's great to be back. It's actually really good to be back. Missed everyone last week, but decided since it was kind of I had the booster shot for what's it called? The coronavirus. Can we say that now on YouTube, by the way? Can you say that word? I don't know if you can. Yeah, so it actually, the booster actually kind of made me very tired. I had body aches, hit me worse than the actual first shot. So anyhow, yeah, so it's great to be back. We got a lot to talk about. First of all, let me just give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thank you everyone for joining us. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to put the link in the live chat. Please retweet the link and hit that like button. And if you're new, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. But yeah, definitely got a lot to talk about. Going to give you a Halo Infinite campaign overview thoughts. Discuss Sony State of Play impressions. We're going to talk about a big update coming to a pretty popular PlayStation 5 exclusive. And also kind of talk about surprise, I guess a sleeper, maybe potential sleeper hit in Guardians of the Galaxy. We'll talk about that. But before we get to those topics, do want to introduce the panel here. And actually, we do have a first-time guest, Gaming Logic Q, who I need to move to the server. Hold on just a sec here. All right, let me move him over. All right, I think he's here. Game Logic Q, can you hear us? I want to make sure you can hear us.
Yep. Yeah, I can.
All right, perfect. All right, so we got Game Logic Q as a guest, first-time guest. Welcome to BRAP, sir. Great to have you on. We actually, he was joined a Spaces I was doing with Dark Optimus and had some really great insight into what we saw with Halo. So wanted to invite him on to talk video games with him, and just great to have him here. So Game Logic Q, man. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Is that correct? Game Logic Q? I want to make sure I'm getting that correct and not butchering it.
Yeah, most people say Game Logic.
Game Logic? Okay.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay. Game Logic then. All right. So Game Logic, welcome to BRAP, sir.
Thanks a lot for having me, man. I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime. And then we got someone who's really not a stranger to the show, somebody who I've known for like almost 20 years. I was actually an Xbox Live beta tester, but he came shortly after that. We got returning guest, One Bad Mother. What's up, OBM?
What's up, Enrique? Good to be
One
here.
Bad
man.
Insider.
Yeah, no, not an insider. Don't go start that shit. But yeah, no, it's great to be here. It's great to talk. Gaming again, and specifically, putting up the Halo bat signal that usually will get me off the ledge to come talk gaming. But yeah, good times. I was a day one Xbox Live, just for the record. But yeah, known you since you've been a beta boy, I think, as King would say. But yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we'll have also, we're going to have the rest of the BRAP panel here as well. But we got my man, B Money 101. B, what's going on, man?
Yo, man, from one insider to another. Shout out to my man, one bad insider is in the building, man. I appreciate it. One bad coming through, but it's another great Wednesday night. A lot of good gaming topics that we got to discuss. So let's get to it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if I didn't mention this already, I was an Xbox Live beta tester. I want to mention that again for those who just joined the stream. Actually, I really was. For those who don't know, I mean, I joke around about it, but I really was. I mean, I've been gaming a very long time. My gaming history goes back to 1982. Yeah, 1982. I was 5 years old. And I was playing Atari 2600. There you go. So
I was 5200, so I was pretty close there.
Yeah. Game Logic. How far back does your gaming history go?
To the beginning.
To the beginning.
Yeah. I've been gaming as long as consoles were sold at retail in North America. So
gotcha.
I go back a little bit further than you, bro.
All right, so you're going back to like the days of like Pong, then, right?
Huh?
My first system was a Magnavox Odyssey. It was the first Pong system sold at retail in North America. So
oh wow,
I went from
That's
that
nice
to
right
a
there.
Magnafox Odyssey 2, and so on and so forth, and on into infinity.
Oh man, that's awesome, man. So you are what we'd call an OG in the gaming streets per se. That's awesome.
I am. I'll try not to act like it unless y'all get my dander up, and then.
You know what's really cool, gaming logic, is that for those of us who started gaming a very long time ago, I think we've been lucky to see these big paradigm shifts in gaming. I don't feel like we've seen as big shifts per se. Maybe shifts in terms of how we consume gaming, and things like that. But when I mean paradigm shifts, I mean going from, the Atari took 2600 to the 8-bit era, then 8-bit to 16-bit, and then we know what happens with the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation come out, and now we go strictly from 2D to 3D, and the impact that had, right? So. That's really, I think that's just a cool perspective, a cool experience to have.
It is, and I think, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we have seen huge shifts, right? When I think back all the way back to like what was Pong, right? And what did that kind of mean? And what were the transitions and the drumbeat shifts between like being a kid and playing in the arcade, right, where that was a thing, where you went and you put your quarter on the machine to claim that you had next, right? And what that whole culture was about getting the high score and being the person whose initials were on the arcade machine, right? And then to see the entrance of things like a Dragon's Lair, right?
Oh my God,
which really kind of shifted what that was all about, right? That wasn't about Street Fighter and getting the high score and Pac-Man, right? That was about a different thing. And then we saw the migration into the home. And like for me, a drumbeat shift was I didn't like the arcade environment as far as the social scene went, and I gravitated towards home consoles because I wanted to take that experience home, and I just wanted to be by myself with the game because I didn't really need anyone else, right, to enjoy my game consumption. Yeah, so it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Like I said, it's really cool just to have that perspective. Some people don't have that. Like my kids are gaming, but they'll never have that perspective per se. Although they'll grow up in that generation that started, like my 12-year-old's really he really enjoys VR. So there's that, right? And I would argue that maybe that's maybe I don't know. I mean, I don't know how popular VR is going to be, but certainly a shift of some sorts, right? Where these games are. Where VR is really providing taking the immersive experience just to another level, and I always think about Vader Immortal, which was like the first game I played on Oculus Quest 2, and how amazing like that game for me was. One, because I'm a big Star Wars fan, but to like see Darth Vader like in VR was pretty cool. So.
Right, and it's a different thing, and it asks different things of the gamer, right? So I agree with you. I don't know how big it's going to get. I don't agree with a lot of the punditry that's been espoused that it is the next best thing, and that's where all of gaming is going. And I'm just like, I don't know. It's kind of like the 3D televisions. The media journals tried to make it a thing, and I don't know that it's a thing, and it's certainly not the thing that they've tried to make it. But it asks something different of you from a sensory perception, and there's a different friction, right? And there's a different onboarding path that you have to go through till you get to a point where you're comfortable with VR. And just as there are genres in kind of traditional games, there are different modalities in VR that hit on different stimuli, right? And that will cause you to gravitate towards a type of VR game, different than others. So it's an interesting space to play around in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of the next big thing, Game Logic, do you think Game Pass is the next big thing?
I don't. So
I gotta ask.
I don't. I mean, when you say next big thing, right? In my mind, I think of technology and software design implementations. In
Sure.
Game Pass to me is a storefront, and it's a marketplace, and it's a subscription portal, and it's a means to access content. So I do think that it is hugely critical to Microsoft's strategy to try and reach gamers beyond the metal, right? Beyond pure hardware, and particularly for accessing demographics that simply can't afford, right, to onboard with a $500 console, right, and the bandwidth, right, that becomes necessary to be part of it, right. They have to go the route of just paying for the bandwidth and then hoping to get the content right over the streaming pathway. So
yeah, no, that's a great point. I was trying to actually bait OBM, but he wasn't falling for it either. So, but no, that's yeah. That was great. That was great. Some great insight there. I want to get the super chat real quick. Gamer Brian with the $2 super chat says, "BRAP, I was born in the '90s. What's Atari?" I don't know what to tell you, sir. Some really great games on the Atari, Space Invaders, Pitfall, to name a few, Pac-Man, as we mentioned earlier. So I want to go to so Returnal. I don't know who's played Returnal here on the panel. I have. I think B Money you have, right? Or no? I don't remember.
Yes.
You have. Okay. Game Logic, have you played Returnal? I should ask you if you have a PlayStation 5 as well, but
I do have a PlayStation 5. We're in a safe space because I have everything, I think. So PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox Series S, PC, VR. But I have not played.
Ooh, PC. Okay.
Yeah.
PC's music to my ears. Best platform to play gaming in my opinion. But that's another conversation. So you have played Returnal then, right?
I have not.
You have not. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. And then OBM, I know you're new to greatness. You have not played. OBM just got a PlayStation 5, which I'm really excited for him. I actually sent him a basket of fruit with a card that said "Welcome to Greatness."
And he sent me a Pegasus contract, which is in the garbage.
I'm not. I'm not part of a Pegasus.
Put that in the shredder.
No, I'm not part of Pegasus Nation or.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, no. Although I did have a conversation with the elder statesman of the Pegasus Nation today, Optimus Code. So. But yeah, so what do you think about this update they did? Because you played the game, I played it too. I didn't beat it yet because I have a problem like buying a bunch of games and then trying to play them all at the same time. Like it's really bad, and that's what happened to me with Returnal. I think Returnal is a fantastic game, even with some of the complaints of not being able to save during a run. Obviously, they've addressed that. But what do you think, B? I mean, do you think this is it too little too late that they did this now? Or do you think, hey, this is great and, more people might play this game now?
I think it's kind of what the game needed. And it's never really too late, especially because it's really going to be the second holiday for these new consoles. So, everybody will be picking up, new games and consoles during this holiday season. And the one advantage that they, PlayStation kind of has with releasing their games earlier in the year is that usually around the holiday season, they're heavily discounted. So, people will probably take, a chance on games like that. A little less risk when they're discounted. And, it kind of opens up that player base a little bit with this update. So, hopefully, more people jump on it. I think it's so decent. When they first announced, I think it showed like 500,000 or something like that. So, lower price point, a couple more updates, things like that. More people, will kind of cross that barrier and jump in there.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the whole holiday thing. Like, you're absolutely right, B. Like, there's going to be people that are going to want to buy. There's obviously demand for PlayStation 5. Like, we clearly see that if you look at, if you follow things like the MPD numbers, right?
Right.
Clearly there's demand. I mean, you go to anytime there's like a PlayStation 5, release online, like they're immediately gone and they're not easy to find. You can't find them at retail shelves. And you could, I would say that too for the Xbox Series X console as well. I've seen the S more recently at Walmart on retail shelves, but definitely those two consoles it's very hard to find. But yeah, I didn't even think about that. Be like coming this holiday, there's going to be new people to the mix that are going to pick up this console and potentially get this game discounted. And now and look, that was one of the big complaints. Like, oh, I can't save a run. Like, what is that about? And there was a workaround where, like, if you didn't shut the game down and you put your PlayStation 5 in rest mode, you could go back, right? But then sometimes that didn't work. Like, I did that and my PlayStation 5 decided to troll me and do an update. and I lost my run, and I was having a pretty damn good run. so this is I think this is a good thing that they're doing, and hopefully, and I think it will probably invite more people to try to play this game, because there were some people I think that were apprehensive to try this game out because it didn't have this save function, and I like that they did it in a way where it didn't maybe compromise the game per se in terms of difficulty or the challenge, because it's not like you can start from that save point over and over again, right? You basically, as soon as you start over again, you can't go back. You'd have to save another. You'd have to make another save point again at a different spot or whatever the case is. So, I got to be honest with you, B. Like I haven't finished it, and I think you finish the game, B?
No, I didn't finish it because the game was
buggy
when it first released. It had those bugs, and like I kept having to restart runs or whatever. So I just kind of set it down, and then like Death's Door was out, and I mean, we started getting more releases as the year went on. So I just haven't gotten back to it yet. But I mean, that's like a perfect holiday game too. You know what I mean? Like over winter break and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's jump back in there. All the other games have released, and you kind of settle in. So it's just like, all right, well, I can go back and touch some of the stuff I haven't finished this year.
Yeah,
well, it's a good company move for Sony too, right? So Housemarque is now a first party studio. There is, just quite frankly, I mean, there's nothing on the first party release calendar slate for PlayStation 5 for holiday season 2021, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a good time to go back and kind of rewash that release for the exact reasons that you mentioned, right? It only had I think, BRAP, you saw my take on Death Stranding today, that it kind of had a messaging problem with conveying to people what that game was about, and Returnal, right, wrong, or indifferent, came across as a game that was only approachable by a certain limited niche section of the gamer market, right?
That's a great point.
But by doing this change, they've opened it up to other people who will be more interested, potentially gaining themselves some additional sales. So it's a neat little move.
Yeah, real quick, Game Logic, and not to kind of derail the conversation here, but to your point about Death Stranding, well said, by the way. Like, because, if you go back to the marketing of that game, like, no one really knew what it was, right? Like, well, what is this? Like a walking sim? And then when you actually get into the meat and potatoes of the game, you find out that it's actually this game that incorporates elements of stealth, some, I thought decent
really
combat. It's like, what's that?
It has really good game mechanics. You know what I mean? Like once you actually get into the game.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you guys said, it was not advertised correctly.
Right. It was advertised at great volume and with great frequency, but like transmitted as this like a luxury thing that was only for, I think the words I used on Twitter were, it was only for like deep gaming connoisseurs and people with particular tastes who were kind of in that JRPG vein. And I'm just like, this, I mean, yes, those elements are there for, for the bougie who want to be into that kind of, art house kind of game. But for like straight up people who like mech sims and who like inventory management metas like Diablo 2 and like Dungeon Siege kind of have, and Elder Scrolls, like, all of those elements are there. There are, the first time I took down a mule encampment, like that whole, like, I often talk about this kind of taking a knee paradigm that I get in Far Cry 5, where like when I'm approaching an enemy encampment, I kind of go hide by a tree and I just kind of kneel down and kind of observe the encampment and kind of map out in my mind. If you kind of think about like when you were a kid playing pick 'em up, bust 'em up football, you took a knee, and like drew out the play in the dirt, right? So everybody knew what to do. It's kind of like that, right? You kind of tactically think about how you're going to take the camp down. I mean, it's that same kind of a feeling, but none of that came across as, and I love Kojima and I love what he does, but the messaging around that game was just like, here's this hoity-toity game that's like for the uber gaming elite, right? And you shouldn't try it unless you have really particular tastes and love fine wine. And I'm like, that's just going to mean that only certain people are going to be interested in that game, right? So you've limited your addressable market, and so it is what it is.
Yeah, and I hope with the director's cut now that game gets more legs, because again, I thought outside of I thought it was a brilliant game, and I just it just didn't. like for everything you just mentioned, Game Logic, like everything you talked about in terms of, mapping out or kind of strategizing how you're going to take out those encampments. Like those are things, and not just that, but just, even like, okay, there's BTs here. How am I going to approach this area? Am I going to walk around it? How am I going to tiptoe? Am I being quiet enough? Those kinds of things. And it's a really involved game. And a lot of people kind of wrote it off as, oh, it's just a walking sim, or like you said, it's for people who have maybe exquisite taste or like Kojima games. Right. So, real quick, I do want to welcome a good buddy of ours, Gaming Forte. What's up, Forte?
What is up? What is up? What is up? What is up? You guys are seeming like you're having a very brilliant, ingenuous conversation going on right now.
Yes, we are
conversation.
Yeah. So
I'm tired, man.
I hear you, man. You are working hard, sir, Forte. You are the. Let me tell you something, Forte. You are a great individual of the gaming community. And I'm not just saying that because you're part of the BRAP podcast, but I do mean that, like, because this man, I'll tell you, if for those who don't know, like, I was frantically calling Forte, and I know I shared this story last time on BRAP, but Forte came, he delivered the goods, and because of this man, I have a Nintendo Switch Pro, and that OLED, let me tell you, looks nice. And Metroid Dread is actually pretty good too, I might add. So thank you, Forte.
Good, very good.
Yeah.
No,
so
man, now I got to make people happy on Friday when this PlayStation drops.
Oh yeah. So are you one of the lucky stores that's getting it? Because apparently it's not everywhere.
I am. My whole area is.
Forte, we're gonna have to talk.
We were the lucky district.
Forte, we're gonna have to talk.
You already got one. You don't need another one.
Hey! I won. Well, I want two.
Oh no, man! You gonna be fighting with the people that's gonna be in line.
Let me tell you something, man. Forte, my son. Let me tell you what happened. My son said, "Dad, I really want a PlayStation 5. We'll make my Christmas." And I said, "I'll see what I can do, man."
And I'm gonna tell him, be like, "You better tell your dad." Uncle Enrique, Daddy Enrique, to hop in his car, hop on whatever expressway it is to go from Maryland to Michigan.
Oh wow!
Probably it's probably 75 at some point, and come on up here and stand in line.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, I might have to fly.
I think Forte's he's completed all his PlayStation obligations and
exactly. I already completed.
I would be surprised if they're all sold out already.
His dad said he didn't get anything for it.
I can tell you what you could do. One bad mother is a friend, and if you really want one, you can have that man stand outside for you for one of them.
I'm just saying, OBM, we've known each other for 20 years. I'm just saying.
Don't be throwing him in BRAP's mess.
No.
That's you
I'm
guys
just saying, hey, I mean, it's Xbox era and all this other stuff. Get all this good information and all of these insider stuff that he be getting. I mean, it's only fair. It's only fair. It's only fair, man. But it's gonna be a crazy day, man. It's like people be complaining about bundles, but guess what? Every last one of those bundles is gonna be sold that day.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, Forte. You were absolutely right.
Every last one of them.
Yeah,
without and anybody that get in line be like, I don't want to spend money for a bundle. Then the next person could be like, I will.
Yeah.
About the power of that PlayStation, man.
Yeah, Forte. Now, did you play Returnal? I don't remember, man. But did you play?
I did, and I refused to go. And
are you gonna go back now, though?
When I saw the update, first I'm looking at, that picture mode looks really good.
Oh, the picture mode looks super sexy. By the way,
the picture mode looks really good. I was like, oh man, this update is nothing but picture mode, but it looks good. So it's gonna, bring up the social media aspects of this game because people are gonna be tweeting like crazy a bunch of pictures that they made. But then saw the suspend feature, and I was like, oh man, this is the thing that I wanted because I played Returnal 6 hours of it. And I was on a really good run. I was like on a 2.5 hour, 2 hour, 45-minute run. And my console decided to crash overnight, and it told me like, how it gives you that error. It said some unexpected thing happened to your software, and the software had to close. I'm like, huh?
Oh yeah, it sucks, man.
So I was like, yep. It's the last time I played Returnal. It's like I was enjoying the game, but that was it for me. I was in I think I was farming biome 2 because I was on my way back to biome 3 when it happened. Because I had died in biome 3. So I was like, okay, I'm going back to biome 3. Dude. Trying to get everything, that's when that hellacious spike in biome 3 was like crazy. They kind of nerfed it ever since, then. But I was like, man, and then I saw the update. Now, the thing is, for me, I don't know if I'm going to go. It's like I want to go back, but part of me is like, there's so much other stuff that's coming out that I'm like, will I have time to go back? It kind of like, it's never too late for people that never played the game. But once you already had the experience of the game and it kind of let you down, not in a gameplay setting, but in a technical setting, you kind of never forget that. And it's like one of those things where I'm like, it's like, if my characters in Destiny accidentally got deleted, would I ever go back and play Destiny again? As much as I love the game, if someone accidentally, if my kids came downstairs right now and hit X on the start screen on my characters, first of all, they would have to find a new home. Second of all, wouldn't play the game no more because I'm not going through that again. I'm not going through that mundane task of doing all that stuff they want me to do all over again. No care how much I love the game, I'm not going to do it.
I hear you, man. I hear you.
So this game at a lesser state because it's not like, you can beat the game in 4 or 5 hours. Once you get a really, really good run going, it's not really hard to achieve that. So it might happen. It could happen after the holiday, after, Battlefield and my Halo fields and stuff get out of the way and everything. And it is going to be kind of one of those. For a lot of people on PlayStation, though, this might be the one thing that a lot of people might be looking forward to because there's nothing else that's coming out from PlayStation per se this holiday. So it might actually pick up a lot of people that are interested because let me tell you, a lot of people I know quit because of the fact that they couldn't suspend their gameplay and you didn't want your console to be slave to Returnal until you beat it, because that's pretty much what you were doing. You literally put your game in sleep mode and said, hey, I'm basically saying my PlayStation 5 is the Returnal system until I'm done with it. And now with the suspend feature, you could actually go play something else. Maybe you might get frustrated on a run and say, you know what, I'm walking away and I'll come back to it another day, save your run wherever you're at. And go from there. So I think it's going to be good for a lot of people. I'm still kind of thinking about it. More than likely I will because I have the game and I bought it. I actually paid money for that game. So it's probably going to be a game that I will go back to, but I just don't know if it'll be right away. But it's a good thing that they did it. So I appreciate that they did it, but in so many people's eyes, it's going to probably be a little too late because they're off to playing something else like, gamers mostly do anyway.
Yeah. Let me ask you all this because this is the 800-pound elephant in the room, right? Obviously, the dialogue around this change has been that they made the game easier. Yeah. Right. So my question, in Forte, and anybody else who wants to weigh in who's played it, is something like you experienced Forte, right?
Yeah.
Like the game crashing on you overnight, right? And this to me equates to things like being a person who has kids. The fact that you cannot pause Destiny 2, despite the fact that you might be playing single player.
Oh right? Yeah, it will boot you to orbit or go to the dashboard if you wait too long.
Right, or even something like Stadia, right, which boots you if you're inactive from any game, regardless of whether you're playing co-op. So, but something like that specific to Returnal. Do you guys view these changes as there are all these terms, right? Accessibility, which I don't agree with. I think that's an inappropriate label to place on these types of changes. But I'll call it approachability, quality of life, or is it valid that people are thinking about it as a change to difficulty that makes it easier for people who need to play games, baby ass baby, right?
Right. I'll answer that first. I think it's twofold. First, I'll tell you my overall blanket statement on it. This is going to make it easier for people. Like, shout out to the people that were able to deal with all of the stuff that happened in the game. Shout out to the people that didn't have issues day one and they were able to power through and get their platinums. I know a lot of people that got, shout out to Randall Thor and shout out to a whole bunch of other people. I can't remember. A lot of people that got the platinum trophy, Optimus Code, they all got it before this even happened. So that's a feat in itself because the game kind of cooperated with you, which probably shouldn't be something we're celebrating, but the fact that you were able to still do that, that is something that cannot be achieved anymore past the time this update comes out. So not saying that those clears and those platinum trophies or whatever mean more than anything else, because they don't. But, you know, for the people that actually did it, you can actually tell yourself like, yo, I beat this game when it was even harder than it was now. But to be, you know, on the other side of that, don't be ashamed of playing a game just because they gave you a feature that should have been there day one. You know, that's ultimately what it's going to really come down to. Just because other people conquered the game in a fashion that should not have been able to be even done because the developers decided that the spirit of the game was completely something that it really wasn't going to be in the first place. Because if that was the case, they would do the same thing that Front Software does. They don't add difficulty scales to the game. They say, well, no, there's no difficulty scale. The game scales on you. They never changed that, and they never will. The fact that they went in there, they went in there and changed it lets you know that either there was a lot of push to change it from the top, or this was something that was always in the process of being done. It just wasn't ready at launch for them to do it. So this still doesn't diminish what other people accomplished in the game, but don't be ashamed of playing this game and posting on Twitter that you got the platinum, you know, after this update, because, you know, this is something that should have been there day one, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a great point, Forte. Yeah, I mean, I don't, you know, I don't know. I don't look at it as easier per se, because I think the, you know, obviously the gameplay loop, the difficulty of the game is still there. You know, obviously there's a layer of difficulty sense that, like, is my game going to crash? You know, but that's unrelated to gameplay, right? That's more. Well, I think.
Yeah, I do think the one thing about gameplay though is the fact that even if you don't think about the situation of your game crashing, and we take that completely out of it, you did have to basically say that Returnal is the game that I am basically maining until I'm done with it.
Because well, yeah, I mean, but I was already saving runs anyway. Like, I was putting my game.
Well, no, but you couldn't leave that game. Like,
no, I was leaving it and just putting my console in rest mode and not.
No. That's what I mean. You can't. Yeah. When I mean leave, I mean you couldn't leave that game and go play a different game.
You know, you could do that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
you're
stuck.
Your mindset was like, I have to beat. If you wanted to play Returnal and beat it, your mindset is, I'm doing this until I'm done with it. Versus now, people can say, if they get frustrated with something, they don't have to push through. They can take a break from the game, and you know that is definitely a mindset that will help a lot of people, you know, come back to the game and have a fresher perspective on it and make it a little bit easier for them, versus the people that love the game so much that even if they wanted to take a break, they couldn't. If they wanted to take that break, they had to be like, okay, well, I can't go play something else. I guess I'll go play on Twitter. Maybe it would have been better if Spaces was around back then, because they could have complained about it in Spaces like they, you know, normally wouldn't do with anything else. But I just think that the dynamic is a little bit different now, due to the fact that now you can actually turn the game off, and not worry that your stuff's going anywhere, and play something else that, you know, is therapeutic to the mind to kind of cleanse. You know, they always tell you in shooters and stuff, don't keep playing the game when you hit that tilt mode, because when you tilt, you start doing stupid stuff in the game that ruins runs and stuff, and that's what happens to people in Returnal. You know, you ruin a run because you try so hard to get through it, but then you mess up on one little thing, and then it pisses you off, and then you're like back to square one.
Yeah. Anyone else have any thoughts on this? Because that's a great point, Gaming Logic, you brought up. B or OBM, any thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'll just say that one of the reasons I didn't buy it was because of I actually like roguelikes. I like challenging games. You know, I played the heck out of Hades. I enjoyed the
Hades
heck out
is
of
so
that game.
good.
It is good, but the thing about Hades is I could do a run and it's like the runs are like 20 minutes. And if you mess up, it's going to be less than that. I think my longest run was maybe 35. That was because I was trying to beat it the first time, playing it really slow. But I think that was the thing that was missing with this. I really like their attempt at meshing kind of a AAA game with something that's generally reserved for like indies when it comes to game design. I thought that was unique, and I always applaud developers when they do that. But again, I got kids, I got all the kinds of stuff going on, man. And hearing people's complaints about it is what held me back from there. So I think that's something that just maybe the learning experience they had throughout that game is I think people are fine with certain games being challenging, but they want to make it feel like it's fair and also kind of respects. I don't know if respecting the time is the right word, but I do think that I could see people just never wanting to go back to it over that. So it'd be interesting what they do now. My suspicion, and I don't know for sure, but like just the way they're setting it up now, making it more approachable. I like that word. This is a developer they own now. They know they're talented. They know they can do some things really well. I wonder if this is a game that's eventually going to go to like PS Plus or something, so that it could hopefully expose a lot more gamers to this developer and their talent. I kind of feel like that window with these types of games, that window might be gone. It's really hard, I think, with these types of games because they don't have they have a certain window to kind of catch people, and if they're not, and if people aren't still talking about it, months later, I feel like you're not going to generate a lot more sales, even if it in its current state, it's a lot more approachable, and maybe a lot more people would have talked positively about it. So I think, right now it's about them getting this game into a state where they can eventually, either through a sale or putting it on one of their subs, give this developer some exposure, because we know they're going to make other things. And right now where it's at, like, with how much of a niche title it is, I think that's probably the best approach.
Yeah, the funny thing is, when it comes to what you were just saying is, if you take this game, like, the whole having to restart and everything aspect and stuff like that, contrast that with like a game like Sekiro, where you're playing that game is niche just as much niche this is. The Soulsborne community isn't as big as like something like other genres and stuff, and those games, they sell pretty well, but it doesn't sell like like blockbuster numbers, like 5-6 million copies and stuff. But the biggest thing that helped that game was at the end of the year, it was up for Game of the Year. That game actually won Game of the Year that year. And you saw an influx of so many people run out after that announcement of Game of the Year from the VGAs and pick up that game. Like, I never saw so many people buy that game just off the fact that it was a Game of the Year contender and it actually won. Because that's the type of thing that would have to happen for Returnal in order for it to hit another stride where a lot of people will be more interested in it, because it is a super niche game, and unless Sony like puts it in your face front and center on that dashboard on the PlayStation 5, which could happen because, like I said, there isn't anything of note this holiday season that's coming out. They're going to be pretty much living on the backlog that they have on their catalog for their PlayStation 5. And I think they're going to lower the price of those games too. So that might help it, and people are just going to be looking for something to play. But, that overall arching celebration of the game that they got at the beginning when it first came out and people on Twitter talking about it, that was pretty much the fever pitch it was going to hit, unless it gets something from like awards and stuff like that kind of boosts it up again.
So one thing I just wanted to kind of step in on it, because you brought up the Miyazaki game, Sekiro, and I do think that was a little more niche. I do think it sold still in the millions though.
It definitely sold like 2-3 million by the time it was all said and done.
Yeah, the game I would like
also because like those games are already established. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
Right.
that's
Where, like,
that was exactly the point I was going to get to. But yeah, keep going, B Money, because I think you're kind of getting to what I was. I think kind of where I was going to go with that.
I was just gonna say, like, Sekiro and games like that of the Soulsborne genre. Those, it's kind of built up its reputation. You know what I mean? Where when
Yep.
Demon Souls first came out, like nobody was talking about that game. Even the first Dark Souls,
Yeah.
when it came out, it wasn't like this big thing. It wasn't like this epic genre that everybody was trying to play, and it wasn't like this huge thing. And I think just over time, you could kind of see the same thing happen, with Returnal or the next game that's coming from Housemarque, if it's in the same genre.
Well, and that's exactly, you kind of stole some of what I was going to say, but that's exactly what I was going to get to, because Demon Souls, when that launched, I think when it first launched, I think it sold like 250,000 copies. It didn't sell that many. I think it sold less than actually Returnal did. And then, you look at the Dark Souls sales, they've now last year they announced 27 million plus. So, that's got to be close to 30 million by now. And and the thing about that game, though, is it did catch on with a kind of a base that continued to talk about it. And so I guess it goes to my point, at this point, it's about exposure. It's about finding a audience that's very enthusiastic about it. I mean, because it stands out as something there's not really anything that's like it right now. It has that opportunity. I do think, having the one things that Souls does have is that, I guess there's always a sense of pride with people when they would beat those games, especially back then. Now it's like a lot more common, but I think there was always like a gamer badge to being able to do that. And so I do wonder if, making it more approachable, even though it's probably, it's good in some ways if you lose some of that hardcore, some of that hardcore base. I think a better way for them to maybe have approached it was just to have different achievements for it or something. I don't know. Maybe for the original way to beat it, and then have a more accessible way for others. I don't know, but it's the bottom. I guess the point is those types of games early on. It's really difficult in this day and age to expose it, to get any new IP to break through. Especially if it's doing something different. So it's really just trying to get the exposure and getting, finding that, that maybe, making it some sort of cult classic, amongst even if it's a smaller base to begin with, some people that are really enthusiastic about it.
Yeah. I mean, I'd agree with that assessment. I mean, first of all, it's one of a relatively small number of first party exclusive titles right out on the PlayStation 5. And they're a fair number, but they're still limited in comparison to the overall total release base of video gaming. I think the other thing that I think is important in the exposure piece is because the whole thing is when Sony acquired Housemarque, I kind of shrugged my shoulders and I was like, these are the Stardust and Resogun guys, right? I mean, like, and those are releases of some known reputation, but they're not super large AAA complex, right, high production value titles that to associate with the name of that developer. And I think it's a good point to frame them around something that's has that bigger gravimetric kind of force if your intention is to kind of turn Housemarque on to bigger releases kind of that ilk in the future.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. I would real quick. I want to introduce. I'm not a streamer, Slow-Mo. What's up, Slow-Mo?
Yo, how's it going, guys? Sorry, I'm running a little late. I'm actually still working,
no worries, man.
So I'm just kind of like
doing
creating firewalls while I'm podcasting.
You know why he's still working? Because the man's been in like spaces every day and every other hour for the last week.
Wow.
This is also completely false, but
he was
saying it.
He was in the space arguing with people this morning. He was in the space this afternoon.
Yes.
What he's doing, he's avoiding the contract, the one that he signed that said that he had to play everything Bugsnax, every DLC that comes out.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he's trying to duck it right now.
You're right.
By the way, that was a good good. That's good. Good segue here, by the way.
There is zero contract.
Yeah. Hey,
Like
real quick,
that.
let me get these super chats real quick, and then I'm gonna switch topics here. We got a $5 super chat from Jeff B Gaming. Says Sony has a game in the holiday season, an indie called Solar Ash. And does the first 10 months not count anymore? I think that's
first 10 months. What?
I guess he's talking about the first 10 months.
I think it's just always weird when people are like, Sony doesn't have a holiday game. Like, when was the last time they did?
They haven't had one in a long time. They don't. They don't do that.
Yeah. Well, they do when they're launching a console, like last year. But
yes,
outside of
that,
yes. Outside of that, no, they normally don't release a game beyond September.
Yeah,
September is a cutoff point.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing for that, and you're absolutely right, and like I said, it's not a wrong statement right there at all. I just think everybody kind of still sees this as the launch of the PS5 because nobody barely got one.
What?
And there's a and there will be so listen.
Forte,
do you not mean
Forte?
Listen, Forte.
For timeout. No, timeout. No. Let me finish. You are not finishing this.
No, because you are literally about to say something and none let me finish my comment. Let me finish my comment.
Go ahead and get it.
Let me finish my comment. No, it ain't no.
So glad I'm here on BRAP where I don't have to correct him and you guys can.
No.
Let me get back to work. I'll just be on mute.
Let me finish what I was about to say. I was literally about to say that no, it is not still considered right now it's still not considered a launch window. I'm just saying there are a lot of people that are still looking for systems and they're going to be looking for something from PlayStation because they haven't been able to get one. In past times, most people, the people that are still looking for these systems that would have bought them day one, would have got them a year ago and this wouldn't be an issue. But they're going to be buying the games that have already been out, older games and stuff like that. To those games are still going to be considered brand new releases, holiday games for them because they didn't get a chance to play them. I'm just saying that's just the thought process that's going on right now with a lot of people. Not my thought process. Those games is like 7 to 8 months old at this point. They still old as heck. And that's why Horizon Zero Dawn ain't coming out to February, which it should, because you shouldn't be trying to go against other games when you can have a whole freaking quarter to yourself. So y'all can stop trying to tell me what I was going to say.
I don't know. It was looking a little spooky there, Forte.
I don't know. Go ahead, Forte. You were setting it up to look a little crazy.
No, I always set stuff up to look spooky at first.
Yes,
I love you too.
Yeah, let me get this other super chat from Game Over Brian with the $5 super chat. Says, have questions for panel, especially Forte. When upgrading Final Fantasy VII Remake to PS5, do trophies pop automatically? In Forte, you look great with your mask on. Yes,
facts. I got more engagement on that. I got more engagement on that tweet than I ever thought I was going to get.
Oh my goodness, that is too funny. Hey, what's up, Reese in the live chat says I was a guy on your spaces on Twitter. Hey, Reese, thanks for dropping by the show, man. Appreciate it. So I do want to OBM talked about Bug Snacks and the DLC. Was it like what's it called? Big Snacks or something? The DLC? I don't know. Anyhow, Sony State of Play today.
Hunger Pains.
What's that?
Hunger Pains. That's what that DLC was called.
Yeah, right. So State of Play, my quick thoughts on it. Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't anything that, well, I should say this. I forgot the indie game at the end. I forget the name of the game.
Little Devil Inside, man.
The Little Devil Inside was cool. Death's Door's coming to PlayStation, which was actually, I thought, a great announcement. So it's great to see that game coming to the platform. But, nothing else really kind of stood out to me. I mean, obviously, I think it's cool. Indies are always cool. I like what indies are doing in terms of pushing creativity and giving us different types of experiences outside of the tentpole stuff. But I was actually surprised to see Star Ocean. I didn't think we'd see a Star Ocean, but yeah, I like Star Ocean.
I was surprised to see it like that.
Yeah, did you get I don't know. I feel like I got Monster. I don't know. Maybe not Monster Hunter. I don't know. I was surprised to see that game there. So, but it was okay State of Play. I wasn't
it felt very 2006.
What's that? Star Ocean?
Yeah.
Yes. No. That's actually a great point, Slow-Mo. But
it was hideous.
Yeah.
It was hideous, and the frame rate was even worse than his looks.
Go still sell.
They need to change the entire art style.
Yeah, that's true.
They should. It did look a little dated per se, but I'm one of those people. I kind of like Star Ocean, so I might maybe check it out. I don't know. But it was an okay show. Like, it wasn't anything that was mind blowing. But again, Sony did I think do a pretty good job of tempering expectations. They did say that that it was.
You think so?
Like, I think so. Yeah. I think because they didn't say they were going to show anything big, and I forget the exact words they used, but I wasn't expecting anything.
They said third-party games.
They said third-party games.
Yeah,
but like third-party games is very broad. Like, one person can see third-party games and think the kind of caliber of games that were shown, a lot of indie games.
Yeah,
that's what I thought when because they talked about Little Devil Inside. I knew that was going to be the last game shown if that's the game they're talking about. And if usually the last game shown is like the biggest game of the show, if that's the biggest game of the show, which I am interested in Little Devil Inside, like I did a video on it. But if that's the biggest game of the show, everything else is small. But other people who could have missed that tweet, but then heard third-party games, could think GTA. Like big
I could see that
party stuff, like from third-party publishers, and so I can see some people being somewhat disappointed with what they got. But I mean, for me, the show's a 3 out of 10, and here's why. Because me personally, I only saw 2 things I was interested in:
Bug Snacks DLC. And what was the other one?
Actually, it lost major points for showing Bug Snacks expansion. Okay, but I thought finally getting. Not finally, but getting Death's Door. I gave him 2 points for that because that's a great game. If you haven't played it, play it. Right. Yep. I gave him 1 point for Little Devil Inside, and that's only because how they showed it, I didn't think did the game justice. I think showing like traversal and like it looked like Thomas the Tank Engine, and I'm just like, what the freak are y'all doing? Like, this game has great combat. There's 20 minutes of gameplay on the internet right now. Like, there's so much more that you could show of this game to get people excited for it, and all that it does, and its humor. And you're showing the guy at a bus stop and them driving and honking at sheep. Like, what? This is this is like all the extra stuff that, like, if someone really was super excited for this game, that they would go to NeoStream, the developer's YouTube channel, and see it. But at State of Play, you showed that was a very weird move. Like, what is that? That's why I gave it only a 1 extra point for that, and everything else I thought was nothing I'm interested in. So a 3 out of 10.
Let me go to. I was actually going to go to you, Game Logic. Go ahead, man.
I feel like since Sony made this pivot, right, since they kind of disenrolled themselves from the large public, keynotes and set pieces on stage during large gaming events, it just seems like, and admittedly, I have never been like super excited about most PlayStation presentations, just because a lot of times, to me, they haven't had like release dates for like that year. They've always been like release dates for like the next year, and some other problems with messaging. But I feel like since they made this pivot, that the states of play have, and I don't know if it's states of play or state of plays, what's the right plural, but I feel like they've just been scheduled events that like have to happen when they're so designated, that they're not necessarily driven by, hey, we need a set piece presentation for like this game or this bundle of games. So I just feel like in the battle rhythm, like there's these periodic announcements that maybe don't really have much, above the crust than we might normally be accustomed to if they were still doing kind of E3s and Gamescom and other things like that.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great point, Game Logic. B, because I know you kind of tempered our not tempered, but you kind of were like, hey, don't expect anything big. And I'm telling everyone, if you're not listening to B Money, you need to be listening to this man when he speaks, because things happen when he speaks. But B, you were kind of like,
his name is not B Money. His name is B Knowing Shit. That's his name.
Yes, B Knowing Shit. That's your new nickname, by the way. B Knowing Shit. But yeah, B, I mean, you pretty much, you kind of said, hey, you know what? Don't expect a Final Fantasy 16. Don't expect anything big per se. But did the show kind of, live up to your expectations, or did you enjoy the show, or did you like Slow Mo? Did you give it a 3 out of 10?
I mean, I gave it like a 5, but it's about what I expected. You know what I mean? Like if you just go back to everything they've shown and the state of plays this entire year, I mean, they've all kind of been, you know, on this type of content. You know what I mean? It's smaller content, nothing crazy. Only time we get, you know, big stuff is when they were getting ready to announce the PS5 lineup last year, and then, you know, they did the showcase not too long ago. So, you know, it's about what I expected. You know what I mean? Nothing crazy, smaller indie stuff. This was definitely like a showcase just for the partners. You know what I mean? Like you kind of have to, you know, butter the bread a little bit, you know, for your partners, show, you know, whatever they got coming up that's coming to your platform. You know what I mean? Because you never know what's going to come, you know, later down the line. So it was one of those things where it's like, oh, here we go. Let's get this out the door. And, you know, I have other stuff coming up, you know, pretty soon. So it is what it is.
Well, one thing I did want to ask y'all is, so the game that led off the state of play, I believe, Death Verse, is exclusive to PlayStation. Any thoughts on how that game is going to perform, you know, in comparison to, say, like a For Honor or a Chivalry 2?
That's the one that had like a lot of melee combat and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's the melee battle royale.
Yeah, I see that as like a streamer kind of game, because like the battle royale kind of games, the games that in that kind of format, they always seem to not really do big numbers in like hardcore gaming communities, but you will see a little bit more casual gamers and people who enjoy watching Twitch streamers and YouTube streamers and Facebook gaming streamers play something. You usually see them playing those kind of games. Like I don't know why I got, even though it's a completely different kind of game, but I got a lot of Knockout City vibes from it, just based upon like I guess the art direction and the format. So I could see people like picking it up and having a little following. Like I thought was it Bloodline Masquerade or whatever it's called, the vampire battle royale thing. I thought that was like, that thing's gonna be dead on arrival, but you'll find streamers playing it and you'll see people like watching them play it. So I think you'll find this next.
Yeah.
We should get together sometime and talk about how streamers play bad games.
This is true, Game Logic. This is so true.
Anything that's free to play that a streamer is going to grab, you just never know. Like my little dude, I mean, he was into Hello Neighbor forever, and that game is freaking horrible, like in every sense of you know, gaming. And that thing has toys for it, all that stuff, because streamers play it. So you just never know if they get. I thought it was a little bit interesting, but obviously without seeing how it plays, it's hard to gauge. You know, without anybody getting their hands on it, I don't know how you could really gauge how well that could do. But anything that's free has a chance.
Yeah, I would agree with OBM there. I mean, because, you know, like my kid, like yours, OBM, watches YouTube and people playing like Tabs or something, I think it's called. Yeah. I forget what it stands for, the acronym, but it's like a game that, like, I don't know. I don't even know.
Totally accurate battle simulator. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And we actually downloaded it for the Xbox. He's playing it on there too, but that's how he discovered it.
Is that the one where they set up battles and they'll be like,
yeah,
like
you line people
Roman
up.
soldiers with spears and shields going up
they
against
fight like elephants.
Yeah.
No, really,
it's so random.
It's so it's not even like my kid. But that's to the point. Like what OBM said. I think what Game Logic
like
was
no
saying
textures
too.
On any of these like these NPCs. It's just literally like little like shapes. Like it looks like how games look before they do the vertical slice, the glow up, because that's if you ever see that game, that's how games look like for like 85% of game development. Yeah. They don't put a whole bunch of detail into the characters. They only do that when they're going to show it off at like an E3 and stuff, and like before launch. So it's like how that looks is so basic looking. It's so weird the way their bodies fall.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah,
it's random. Yeah,
it's really random. But I want to grab a super chat from Jeff B. Gaming, $2 super chat. Thank you, Jeff. Says Little Devil Inside art style is amazing. I would agree with that. I really liked the art direction of that game. But yeah, you know, I kind of agree with everything what everyone's saying here. I think the big announcements for me were you know, Star Ocean, the Divine Force, and then, you know, seeing then getting a little more of Little Devil Inside, and then also Death's Door, which is coming to PlayStation, which I would encourage.
Enrique, you're really going to get that Star Ocean the way it looked.
The what?
You're really going to get that Star Ocean the way it looked? Like after the way it looked?
I might, man. I mean, like, I've enjoyed the Star Ocean series, so I might
I
pick
have
it up.
too.
But
like,
I don't know if I'm going to, like, it really just depends what's out, so, but I might pick it up at some point, to be honest with you.
You know, the one thing I'll say with the Star Ocean, I've never played a Star Ocean game, but that for the thing that did kind of, I don't even want to say hook me, because I don't even play Japanese art outside of the Yakuza Like a Dragon. I haven't finished a Japanese RPG, and
You got to play Tales of Arise, sir.
That's you need to play Tales of Arise. I'm playing.
I have to go back to the PS1.
Tales of Arise is really good.
But the thing that I did like about it, it gave me like old school Phantasy Star vibes, and I don't know if it's just because it had old school Phantasy Star graphics, but you know, from a technical level. But it did give me that sort of Sega RPG feel, and old school Sega always gives me good feels, so that kind of got my interest a little bit, but from like artistically, I guess, and maybe it was just the nostalgia hitting me, but I thought I'd call it. I don't know if anybody else thought that or if I was the only one.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, Slow-Mo. I mean, like yeah, visually it's not like impressive, like I would say. Like,
it's not just the visuals, it's the visual. Like, did you see how like shaky the frame rate seemed? I know I couldn't have a frame rate counter on the thing, but like,
would you have the magnifying glass on there?
I mean, like it's just it didn't.
Were you counting pixels?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, I've apparently I've got that eye now. I've got the Digital Foundry.
You went Digital Foundry this Monday, man.
Hey, look, man. I saw what I saw, and I did comparisons, man. You know, I had to pull out the British accent, but no, seriously, like the frame rate in that trailer, like the gameplay looked really shaky, and so it's like if I'm fine, I play a lot of games that visually aren't all that impressive, but it's like what was always tantamount to me, like it was always the biggest thing that I care about is performance. Performance isn't great. I don't care how it looks. It could look like the most amazing thing in the world. I don't want to play it because performance sucks. Or if it's terrible looking game, if the gameplay's great and the performance is solid, I can look past the visuals if I'm having a good time. And if like both of those suck, then it's like I like Star Ocean's combat. Like
I do too.
The old Star Ocean games I've played, I really enjoyed the combat, even though sometimes I thought I didn't know where the story was going. But it doesn't matter, right? The combat was fun.
Yeah.
But like this, I don't know, man. Like this one, I think you're only going to get Star Ocean diehards on this one with the way that looks.
I would probably, I would agree with that, Slow-Mo. I think this is the first Star Ocean since what, 2016? Is that? I don't remember.
Yeah, Star Ocean 5 was the last one, and that game wasn't great either.
Yeah, Star Ocean 5 was not good. I think it didn't really review well and had some issues. If I remember correctly.
I thought like after that game got like bad reviews and it didn't sell well, that they would like soft reboot the franchise. Go with like a different art style, you know, different combat and stuff like that. Kind of how like Tales did, you know, for Tales series, Tales of Arise. But to kind of see it the way that they've shown us today, that shit was a disappointment.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Just to try and throw a couple positive logs on the fire pit. I've actually been interested. I've found the premise behind We Are OFK interesting since I first heard about it.
That's interesting, yes.
Yeah, I think it showed up at like an indie showcase or something over the summer during the week that was E3. That was actually like 5 gaming shows in one. So it was interesting to see that progressing, and I guess in the state of play because maybe it's approaching release. Not a ton of gameplay, even though I ragged on the marketing messaging behind Death Stranding earlier, but I can kind of understand that maybe gameplay isn't the easiest thing to kind of convey and translate in something like a state of play. So I get it, but it'll be interesting to see how it drops, particularly, when there's a good following behind things like the Life is Strange games, and things of that ilk. And then I actually thought it was kind of interesting just to see some of the differentiated game mechanics in Kart Rider Drift. I know that it's a kart racer, right? And it's a combat kart racer, so it kind of had the same basic mechanics, but just the implementation of some of the different power-ups just looked kind of interesting and comical for, if it comes out, really inexpensive and maybe even shows up on PlayStation Plus, it might just be something interesting to kind of while your time away in between big releases. So those things were at least marginally interesting.
I thought that was interesting too. And when I first saw it, actually kind of reminded me of Mod Nation Racers. I just played that back in the day, PS3.
Yes,
yeah, but that's what it kind of reminded me of, like with all the customization and stuff like that. So, if it's decently priced game, I'll definitely pick it up, play with the family and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the nice thing about Mod Nation Racers was it had a progression model in it. So if Kart Raider has a little bit more of that meat on the bone, it could find a way to kind of differentiate itself and break out from like a Mario Kart or some of the other kind of a little more plain Jane vanilla kind of kart racers that are out and around.
Yeah. That's a game like I think you just said this, be like that's a game I would definitely play like with my kids. Definitely play that with them.
Game, man.
Yeah, because like
spring break and stuff like that, man.
Yeah, because we
on the TV.
Yep, yeah, because we played Mario Kart. They're kind of over that now. Like that's kind of lost its luster in my house. And yeah, this would be a game definitely right up our alley that we would definitely play together. So, but no, what was the? I'm sorry, Gabe. What was that? The game you just mentioned with the band.
We are. What is it? We are OFK.
Yeah, I actually thought that was interesting, like the aesthetic and everything. Visually, different. I thought it looked cool. I thought it did, and the premise behind it seems very interesting. Like I think we talked about like indie games kind of pushing creative boundaries in gaming, and I think that game's an example of that, and I actually really like that. I'm interested in actually seeing more of what that game actually is, because I don't feel like I got enough there, but I would say that was one of the games that kind of really surprised me, that I was like, oh, okay, this looks really interesting. So,
one of the things I like about it that we're seeing, and I know it's going to cause some people to groan, but oh well. And I really like how it is the story of a band that has, a cast of characters that are, different body styles and different cultures and different ethnicities, and I'm very interested just to kind of see how that melts, just to kind of understand the story of how like that band like came together, and like as they said, are apparently sticking together and are achieving some level of success. Although I don't know who the hell We Are OFK is or what they're used to.
I don't either. It's the first time I heard of it. Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how that one unfolds.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the live chat said Star Ocean environments look fine, but the character models were off. I think that's what you were saying too, right, Slow-Mo? Or no?
The whole
game needs a
little bit more love.
Yeah, all of it. I wouldn't say the environments look. I thought the environments looked like PS3 era stuff.
Ooh, okay,
like
you need a Ricky Lake remake, man.
Wow, we're gonna pull Ricky Lake. Okay, yeah. And by the way, Star Ocean Integrity and Faithlessness, which was I guess Star Ocean 5, Metacritic was 58.
Horrible.
Yeah, so
that's almost in broken game territory.
So, and of course, this is a game coming out from my favorite publisher of all time. Why do this? Like, Avengers is struggling, right? You may have a good thing going with Guardians of the Galaxy.
That might be the sleeper hit this year, right?
Right? Yeah. I mean, the market currently has Genshin. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Genshin Impact, as well as whatever they're doing with Phantasy Star Online. So I just don't. I don't even know where there's like room for this. Is this just a latent IP that just had to kind of be salvaged to get some use out of it, or like what would be the point in pushing this out?
Well, I mean, you only really kind of see that if someone, a publisher, has to use an IP or they lose it, kind of deal.
So
I don't think
if you don't use
that's
it, you
the
lose
case
it.
with them. Yeah, yeah, kind of like how, like, although this is a different industry, but the way Fox was, and Sony actually, with the Marvel properties that they have movie rights for, they at times would have to make a movie in order to keep the license. So like the last Final Fantasy, I said Final Fantasy, good grief, Fantastic Four movie that came out that bombed like spectacularly. That movie, like, the actual director wanted to, like, what he wanted to do with the movie, he didn't get a chance to do because they had a deadline to meet. And if they didn't get that movie out, but like within like a month or two before it came out, they were going to lose the Fantastic Four IP back to Disney and Marvel. So yeah, so sometimes people come out with stuff just to come out with it and keep things, but I don't know if that's the case with this.
No, and I think
I was gonna say that's the same thing happened with Spider-Man. That's why you see them reboot it like every 10 years. They have a new protagonist, and not a new protagonist, but a new person playing Spider-Man, and they basically go through the beginning to the end again just because of that main reason.
Yeah, and I'm really familiar with those deals in the entertainment industry, but I'm pretty sure Square Enix actually owns the IP to Star Ocean.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
But so somebody in the chat speculated that most likely was meant for the Japanese market, but Sony wanted to bring it west. So maybe Square Enix was already, making the investment to put that game out on the Japanese market, and Sony put it.
And is this game going to be exclusive to PlayStation? I don't think it is, right? It's probably going to make its way.
No, it's not.
Yeah, okay. And I'm sure it's going to be on the Switch. I'm sure it's going to make its way there at some point.
It looks like it was made for this Switch, or maybe. It was
hey, OBM, what's up with your nickname?
Yeah.
What do you mean my nickname? What's going on with my nickname? What'd you guys do? Hold on. Somebody change it again. Come on.
No, it says One Bad Insider.
It changed itself.
Stop it.
I don't know who did that. It wasn't me. I just
it changed itself.
It's not. I'm not. It's not about.
But
all right, you're going to hear me typing now.
Yeah, but
typing really loudly.
To the point with with Guardians of the Galaxy, that game seems. I mean, I was because of the Avengers. I was very, 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 very like, I don't know about this game, and it's come out now, and everyone seems to be loving it, like, which is really cool. It seems to be scratching that superhero single player, narrative driven game experience, and people seem to be loving it. Like it seems like it could be the sleeper hit of 2021. I've even heard people say it's their game of the year, which is interesting. So,
already, really?
Yeah, I've heard people say that. Yeah,
I wasn't hyped on it, but I did see a couple of people play it, and I said, you know what, this doesn't look bad. I went ahead, I saw it on Green Man Gaming. It was like $45, so I said, all right, let me go pick it up. And I haven't played it yet. I might stream it tomorrow. We'll see. But
yeah, I wasn't going to get it.
Game of the year contender.
Yeah, that's.
I feel like there's been such a void, just industry wide, from AAA, linear single player games that don't put a bunch of junk in there, and so I think when a game now comes,
reminds me of a certain game we're going to talk about next. But go ahead.
Oh, good lord! But anyways, so I think that when a game comes out and it kind of fills that category, then it is getting probably better. I haven't played it, so I don't want to. I do think there's some enthusiasm for the fact that it's there, and I think people rightfully want to see that kind of game succeed because they want to see more of them.
Yeah.
For me, the struggle is I'm not a big Guardians of the Galaxy fan, so I've heard that the writing is really good in the dialogue. Yeah, so I mean, whatever. It's not my. I think I'll actually play it at some point because I heard the gameplay is also really solid, and the developer is a good developer. I mean, I actually
Eidos Montreal,
yeah. I want to see them make more Deus Ex games, but
they weren't the best with.
One can hope.
How many times have we seen throughout this year people say that it's dry out here?
Yeah,
ain't nothing to play.
Yep. I was just about to say it. It's because all they play is AAA games.
Yep. Yeah. That's exactly why people are saying it's a game of the year.
And that's why people are pushing Guardians. If people are saying Guardians for Game of the Year nominee, it's because all they play is AAA
or the
games.
tentpoles, AAAs. Yeah.
They won't touch a game
play
like Death's Door.
Yep.
Or 12 Minutes. don't even know what Hades
I need to play
is.
12 minutes.
Don't play any of these kind of
What are
like smaller indie
roguelites?
titles. like they don't play any of those games and know how good those games really are. And so they're always, man, it's dry out here. And it's because all they care about is big AAA blockbuster games. And this is not the year for that. It's not.
Mm-hmm. I feel attacked.
Wait, so Game Loss, do you only play the tentpoles of AAA games?
No.
Okay.
But I mean, but like a game has to cross my threshold of gaining my interest, right? And I have a few quirks, and this is a quick divert. I have a few quirks where like when there's a ton of buzz and hype around a game, and everybody's saying everybody should play this, and we get kind of the thing that we're having here. Like, I don't think I'm going to get turned off to Guardians of the Galaxy because I was interested in it from the first time that I saw it as well. But, when I just have one of those things where when everybody says that a thing is good, I get suspect of it. And I just don't know if that's just the echo chamber or, so.
Yeah, no, that I hear you, man. I mean, like, look, I wasn't going to get this game, and oh man, Sincere, big shout out to Sincere. He tweeted the deluxe version, the deluxe edition for the PlayStation 5. Took a picture of it, tweeted it, and I was like, I need to have that. FOMO kicked in, and I said, yeah, I pulled the trigger, and my backlog's already bad. I'm playing Tales of Arise right now, and I'm just waiting for Guardians of the Galaxy to come in. But I love comic books.
Finish a game.
I know. Forte, you don't understand what it's like to be me and to like want to play everything. It's just, yeah. So, but no, look, I'm looking forward to trying it out. To me, I'm hearing people talk about that single player. Worrywart loves this game. Worry's a big, single player campaign type guy, and he's raving about this game. And he's also a big comic book fan. So that's kind of what's getting me excited about this game as well. So
from what I've seen, in the parts that I've seen, it's a little different from the MCU movies as far as like some of the characterizations of the Guardians. Like, for example, like Drax isn't as
muscular,
comical as he is in the movies.
He isn't.
But like he's more like he is in the comics. Like I thought visually looks beautiful, and I like.
I've heard that too.
The overall, like the way they're going about it. Initially I was like, when I saw the combat, but I think like maybe I'll grow into the combat. I don't know, but one thing I thought that was really smart, and I kind of feel like now all games should do this, and nobody should have any excuses not to. They have a streamer mode where, like, let's say if you decide to stream the game and you turn streamer mode on, all of the licensed copyrighted music that's in the game won't play, and it'll be like copyright free stuff. Still, like, very much in that theme, because Star-Lord loves his like 80s music.
He loves his 80s music, yeah.
So you'll still get music that's like that from the 80s, but you won't get a copyright claim for it.
Oh, that's cool.
I thought that was smart.
I think there's a couple of racing games out that do that too. I do like that. I would still push it one better. I wish that they would just pay for the damn licensing for the tunes to play,
exactly,
like they normally should, so that you don't have to like have a different thing going on. But I will say, go back to the earlier comment. I feel like, so first of all, people saying that it's a game of the year, again, that's a thing that I'm very wary of, because I feel like there are tons of people, especially in the Twitterverse, who like every new game that they play, they say it's a game of the year contender. So I see that very frequently. But then another thing is I think there's still an argument or a discussion, and I agree with the sentiment that, like, I don't know that I need to hear, what's a game of the year from people who have a limited palette. But I still think there's a discussion, right, for whether or not this year is I hate to use the term, it's not meant to be I can't even remember the term that we use now on social media, but it's not meant to incite rage. But I don't know that this year has been a good year, a surprisingly good year in comparison to what it could have been with COVID going on. But there's still been a ton of stuff that's been delayed. I don't know if I take this year and stack it next to previous years, right, that it's as strong, right? I don't know. My analog in comparison is like the year Control won Game of the Year. I don't know that was as strong a year as like the year that like we got Resident Evil 7, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Breath of the Wild.
I think in a way, like the fact that we've probably the past 3 years have enjoyed some of the best games that have come out in maybe a couple decades. Games like God of War, Red Dead 2, The Last of Us Part 2. There have been a lot of like big games that have been larger than larger than life, it seems. And this is the first year that we don't have a slam dunk. You know this game is going to be in the Game of the Year conversation kind of game. But usually that's because a lot of those games or a lot of these awards always have their biases. So like, for example, the last 2 Forza Horizon games have been rated 91 and 92, considered the best racing games you could play. Were they ever nominated for Game of the Year? No. Why? It's a racing game.
Yep, they get junked into the sports category, which is a big. I mean, so part of that is, and I don't disagree with you. Part of that is, and I just to kind of revector my argument. I know we're saying Game of the Year. I don't technically literally mean like the VGAs. I think it's just like the generic topic of Game of the Year just becomes a thing that, at least when I think about like and it's not to take anything away from those games. Like Control is a great game. It's just to say, like, in its competitive field, what it was compared against, I don't know if that's 1-to-1 the same as like some other years, but all of those are still great games. And Guardians of the Galaxy looks like it's doing fine, and I hope it winds up on my playlist to give it a try too.
Yeah, it's. I think this year is very strong on the indie scene and not so strong on the AAA scene, and so you're going to get a year where I think that the typical award show, and I'll take Keeley's award show, where you could pretty much, like most years, predict what games are going to make the Game of the Year. He's going to have his indie token indie game. He's going to have his token Nintendo game. He's going to have his token Sony game. And then he's going to have 2 third-party multi-plats that did really well. And just being nominated is a gift in itself. Because now, just because it's nominated, it's going to get a boost in sales from people that's like, oh, what was that? I didn't know. What was Celeste? I didn't even hear about a Celeste game that got nominated for Game of the Year. Let me try that out. That's a boost in sales after the game came out like 8 months prior. So just being there, the devs and publishers are happy. That said, Celeste, the devs for Celeste knew they weren't going to win Game of the Year. The same way the devs for Hades knew they weren't going to win Game of the Year. And whatever token indie makes it in this year, probably Death's Door, probably It Takes Two, you're not winning Game of the Year. Just be happy that you're there. And it's probably going. I think it's probably going to end up being Resident Evil Village, which would have been like a fringe nominee like the past 2 years, but this year there's not much of the AAA crop for it to be true competition for it.
All right. Interesting note, because I've been meaning to look this up for the last few days. Halo Infinite will release after the VGA cutoff for this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it will not be eligible.
Yeah.
Until next year.
Yep, that's right.
I think Battlefield 2042 is also not eligible as well after their delay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the cutoff is like November 10th or something like that, somewhere like in the second week of November.
Yeah. So speaking of Halo, I can't do it. I can't do that chant or whatever it is. I don't have the voice for. I don't or the singing I can't do that. Anyhow, all right, so I could do like other things, like double kill, like that kind of thing. Okay. Hey, Forte, go play Destiny, man. All right,
I am playing Destiny. I got nunchuck skills. I got
nunchuck skills.
Make you think I'm not
double
playing
kill.
Destiny. I'm always playing Destiny.
Yeah. All right, so we got the Halo campaign overview. And I'll give my quick 2 cents on what I saw and kind of the handling, I think, of this overview. I thought, first of all right, as you guys know, I've been very critical of Microsoft's handling of 343i's handling of this marquee franchise. I've said this a million times. Hey, this is Xbox's. This is the face of Xbox. This is what Xbox is known for. Halo is basically like Nintendo's Mario. Like it's the iconic franchise for Xbox. It is it. It is why people go out and buy Xboxes. It's why the Xbox is on the map. It's why the original Xbox was successful. It's literally a Halo previous, I think, to this game there was always a big event surrounding it. So a couple things. I thought it was interesting how on a Sunday, I think it was early afternoon, early evening, or late afternoon, early evening, we get a tweet that there's going to be an campaign overview. And interestingly enough, it's going to be at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So I'm like, okay. And I was watching it with Slow-Mo. We were, watching it together, and Slow-Mo was, before he did his deep dive into the frame by frame of the campaign, what they showed us. But look, I think the game looks a lot better, like much better, like definitely much better, right? So kudos to them, really adding a lot of love and polish to the game. Looks much better. But I wasn't, for this being Halo and me, I have been a fan of Halo for 20 years. It's one of my favorite franchises. Halo is the reason why I wanted to be an Xbox Live beta tester, because I knew Halo 2 was going to be on Xbox Live. And Halo 2 is one of the reasons why I got really excited for Xbox Live, because I had experience doing the LAN parties and the virtual LANs on XBC, Xbox Connect. I don't know if anyone remembers that. This just didn't wow me. Like, I wasn't blown away by it. I feel like I don't know enough about the campaign yet. It's kind of this semi-open world. It's kind of joking around with Dark Optimus about it. I'm like, this is like Halo. It seems like Halo Far Cry. I don't know. Like, I think I would be as skeptical maybe if they weren't these development issues with the game. This game's had a lot of development issues. But again, like, as I think about it being a marquee franchise and it being the pillar of Xbox, and 6 years of development and $500 million, I just wasn't blown away by this game. Like, it just didn't seem like it was doing anything different that I've already played. I don't know. Like, it's just not resonating with me. And I did a Spaces, and that's how Game Logic and I actually were able to talk and why he's on the show. But Game Logic, I thought you brought up some really good points about what they showed us. So what were your thoughts now that you've kind of had a little more time to digest what you saw on Monday?
Yeah, and I don't know if I can regurgitate all the things we talked about on this basis, because some of it got a little complex and a little deep. I think one thing I'll say, and maybe I'll start with kind of thinking about things 2 or 3 days later, is, so the single player campaign showcase was all of, was it a 5, 6, 7 minute video?
Like that. I think about 7 minutes. Yeah.
And again, I kind of go back to the thing I said about Sony, where the state of play feels like a thing that's just like a kind of sort of mandated thing that they have to do, that isn't necessarily driven deterministically by like a specific bundle of releases that are coming out. I feel like there's, so sales numbers of the Halo franchise overall are what, 81 million-ish, I think was the last tally that I saw. The thought process is, how many of those are done by people who were buying it exclusively to play the single player campaign, and how many of those are driven by people who want to play the multiplayer? And I'm sure people are getting tired of that comparison by now, but the trailer dropped. It was short. It's right up against the release of the game. They've dropped co-op. I mean, I think to a certain extent, and I know that 343 and Microsoft, I know that they've held on to the importance of the single player campaign, but I just wonder if we're finally tilting on the fulcrum point where there's truly starting to be an acknowledgement that it's really about the multiplayer. I mean, Phil's statement last year was when everybody was speculating about whether or not they were going to hold off on the even launch of the Series X and Series S, and Phil said the launch of those two consoles is not dependent upon Halo, and they forged ahead. So I just don't know what weight the single player campaign itself solely has on Halo.
Yeah, and so, but did you like? So I'm assuming you've probably I think you mentioned on Spaces like you have been a big fan of the Halo franchise.
Oh, I have, yeah, and
yeah.
Still am.
Do you have any concerns like with the campaign per se, like this idea of this open world game and maybe doing things like maybe in the same vein as what you would find like in a game like Far Cry? I mean, I saw people comparing it to Just Cause, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. But no, because and I'll admit, some of my own bias and quirk in this. Maybe I'll start with that. My bias and quirk is in full on respect for how everyone else views games and the gaming industry. I kind of mentioned how long I've been in and around this stuff and how long I've been studying it, and I just don't. And my own, kind of tight coupling to it, being in the software engineering field itself. I just don't put a lot of weight on games before they're launched, right? And my feeling is just like I have to decide when my own team's code is going to be released. The way I look at it is like the creative director and the producer and the application, like all those guys, are paid good money, right, to be the deciders on when a thing is going to launch. And I don't own Microsoft stock. And so the way I kind of look at it is like the pre-release is on them to decide, and then I decide how I feel about it when it's released and whether I play it and whether I buy it. And if the game comes out and it's not tightened up the way it needs to be, then I won't play it, and there's plenty of other stuff I need to play. So I just don't have a lot of emotional investment in any given release because kind of like you mentioned, right, I hop around to like a little bit of everything, and I tend not to get vendor lock-in or brand lock-in. As far as the gameplay differentiation, I think I'm okay with it from that perspective because I watched the trailer and I like a lot of the traversal. Quite frankly, a lot of the traversal elements I saw are very similar to the traversal elements that we saw in the Horizon Forbidden West trailer, except they're in first person, and so they don't translate as well in the trailer. But I really like the things that I saw of him, like mid-air, carjacking a ghost, right, and tossing the Covenant out of it, and then leaping out of that and firing the rocket launcher. And
that actually was cool. Yeah,
and then using the grappling hook to clamber onto another vehicle mid-air. So I really, and using the grappling hook to jump, pull himself into a Covenant and then do a melee strike. So I like a lot of those things. I saw a lot more vehicle variation than I think we're accustomed to. I'm always accustomed to you typically get access to like one vehicle at a time,
yep.
Maybe two at most on a given level. It seemed like there were some points where you would get, several choices of what vehicle you wanted to jump into, and a lot more variation, not just in vehicle types, but in terms of their armament and their loadout. So I think a lot of the things that I saw were positive. And I mentioned earlier that I love taking the aspect of Far Cry 5. So, you give me a big open world map and let me decide on how I want to traverse it and go across it. Like, again, going back to my comments about Death Stranding and the things that I like about that game. And that's one of the things, pulling up that national map and then also pulling up the more localized map and kind of deciding how you want to get from point A to point B. I'm all for that, and the opportunity to explore the Zeta Halo, I think will be interesting.
Yeah, I want to go to no, it's a great point, Game Logic. OBM, because I know you're a big Halo guy, big fan of the series. I know you definitely enjoyed probably what you saw from the campaign overview.
I mean, yeah, I mean, and just to kind of inform your audience, Halo is my favorite franchise. I actually have a bi-weekly show called "You Had Me at Halo," and it's and so I do come into this. The one thing I do say, and I mentioned this to you before, Enrique, is even as hardcore Halo fans, I feel like in general we are some of the hardest on the franchise, or we have been. That's one of the reasons why I think it's been tough to be a 343 employee the last few years. If anybody goes to Halo Waypoint, it's a lot of negative over there, and there has been. So the one thing I will say though, coming out of the multiplayer betas, when people got their hands on that, including myself, and I think you saw a lot of that, and I think for a lot of people, if Halo doesn't click with you, you may not get it. But when we started to get informed of how Halo feels, some of the aspects of the sandbox, I was saying back then, even after the first beta, but after the big team battle overview or the tech demo, I thought that people would start to become a lot more positive or get a lot more optimistic about the campaign, because in my opinion, the sandbox is really the heart and soul of Halo's franchise, whether people realize it or not. I know for a lot of people, it's the story. It's, maybe it's for some people, it's been visuals. The music's obviously been really good, but it's really the sandbox that holds that all together. I'd say, like, if you're looking at some of the, like a sports team, Halo Sandbox is what I would consider their LeBron James. Story's still really important, so maybe that's like your Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh or whatever, on some of those teams. But it really, that is what will make people come back to it. I replayed all the Halos on Legendary again a few months ago. I went through the entire franchise. I still think the classic Bungie's, right back to the one that launched 20 years ago, still holds up, despite the fact that aesthetically, there's they reuse the assets over and over and over again, probably more than any other top game of all time. And it still holds up because it feels good, and the sandbox is good. And so, like, this, when they were showing re-showing this again, I think a lot of people came into this sort of informed of what this game could be, based on the multiplayer. And I think that's why you're seeing a significantly significantly more positive impression of this reveal than what you saw last year. I'm sure you guys have seen that. Benji put something online. Where last year on the Xbox channel, 77% of the people gave the original demo thumbs up. This time was 97.5%. And not only that, like, just the number of people that are actually giving it likes, because people like me who were Halo slappies just didn't vote at all, on stuff like that, because it just, we're kind of bummed about it. And we did have a lot of question marks, but looking at what they were showing there, like you guys just mentioned that, and you can see it over and over again. I've rewatched it a lot of times, and the things I keep looking for is, like, how's this game going to hold up over time? What's the foundation like? So, because obviously we know they're going to continue to build, they're going to have more content. And I've said before, the sandbox is the best it's ever been. I think in my opinion, and this is just an opinion right now, and I do agree that you should always wait until you play the game before you bet your life on it or anything like that. But in my opinion, I think this is going to be the best sandbox game in terms of how it feels and just the amount of things that you can do in it. So looking at, like, the grapple hook, some of the items they put into the game, it adds a lot more variables. And a lot more. There's going to be a lot of ways different situations play out. I predict that even in the campaign, people are going to have different, videos showing how they got through the situation, and somebody's going to do it different than somebody else. Somebody maybe upgrades their grapple hook versus somebody does the repulsor and gets through certain situations. And I think that's going to be fun. And I think that's what's going to hold it together. I do agree that, when I watched it, there was some trepidation about the I guess the Ubisoftness of the what you call it, the outposts, and and I rewatched a bunch of times. The one thing that I kind of hold on to is that they were they were very different from each other. And I think that's going to be the key, is that we don't have like 10 of these types of outposts cut and pasted over and over. And then you pop up a bunch of icons. You know, the way I kind of saw it seemed a lot more streamlined from what I've heard. The campaign is going to be a lot more streamlined than a, like, you know, Ubisoft open world. It's not going to be that. I think these are more supplementary than they are kind of like what the game is. It's going to be things that you can kind of take it or leave it, or just go straight and do a normal campaign run. And then as somebody who, after Halo 5, I felt like the story was such a wreck. I didn't think there was going to be any way they could, I thought that was going to be an impossible task for somebody to come behind that and salvage it. And I think between what they did with the Halo Wars 2, kind of setting up this, and then kind of now they've did the soft reboot, I think they put themselves in a good position. We have to wait and see how they execute, but I'm excited about the fact that they've now they've given themselves a lot of leeway to go in a lot of different directions, and they're not really held back by some of the garbage that happened in the Halo 5 story. And I think they're bringing back that sense of mystery. And at this point, I don't really want them to show too much more of the campaign. I think Halo was at its best when you were kind of out in this world and there was a sense of mystery around it. And I think they are bringing a lot of that from the classics into this. So there's a lot to be encouraged about. I do think that it's fair to, again, to have to ask questions or hesitation about the fact that it is open world, because that's never, open world and outposts and even upgrades. I'll admit there's I have questions about how they're going to balance that, and we'll have to wait and see. But I still think
that's my biggest question. OBM is how are they going to balance all those things and keep this compelling? Like, because to me, like Halo, I get the sandbox, and I agree to an extent, but for me, Michael Jordan, the story is the Michael Jordan, right, of the game, and I just hope that these things don't detract from that, because sometimes games, when they have all these extra things you can do, can detract from keeping you engaged in that story, or sometimes things feel maybe a little bit disjointed. Hopefully they pull it off. I got a lot of heat for kind of sharing that on Twitter. And just as a disclaimer, I do want this game. No, I should not. I do want this game. I do want this game to do well, and I hope it's well. I hope they nail it, because 5 was, from a story standpoint, was a little bit of a disappointment.
That was a disaster.
So I really hope they
coming from a Halo fan. Yeah, coming from a Halo fan, 5 was absolutely you won't see too many people capping for Halo 5, even amongst hardcore Halo fans, when it comes to the story and things like that. The one thing I will say, and I know I've spoke a lot, so I'll let everybody else go. But the one thing, and
I don't want it to be like Destiny, by the way, either. OBM, that's the other thing. I don't want like a Destiny clone or anything like that for Halo. But go ahead, man.
Well, it's not so, and I don't know how much I can because I hate putting things out there that are
Slow-mo. You hear what he's doing?
I'm trying to still figure out what's wrong with Destiny, but go ahead.
Please continue, OBM.
So please continue, because I want to hear this.
Continue that train of thought you were on before you stopped yourself. Go ahead.
All right, so we'll just say we'll say this: when Staten came in, it's been over a year, right? Since he came in, it's not been there's a lot of evidence that it wasn't just graphics that they delayed the game for. And
so they also, is that rumor true that there was a internal debate on how the structure of the missions need to be?
Well, I would never speak. I would never speak super confidently about rumors and innuendo. But okay, I will say this.
Let's say it's not a rumor. Let's just say there was some talk that funny. Internally that one camp of 343 wanted it to be far more open in mission structure, and the other didn't, and that Staten eventually settled that debate, and they went with one thing going forward.
I can answer that question for you, because Staten was at Bungie, and he didn't leave Bungie because of the direction that they were going with the way that the story was being, not the story, but the way the game was being played out in course, like how they're doing with Halo. He left because they were breaking the story up in so many different ways that it was convoluted to the story that he wrote for the game. He was 100% in on the way that they were actually presenting the game to you in the way that the story beats were going to be done. He just didn't like that they were chalking his story up and basically throwing it out the window. And you see where that actually got that game in the course of the last 5 to 6, 7 years of it being out. So I 100% believe that actually happened, because this game definitely looks like it's taking some of the essence of what Destiny was actually doing when it comes to their structure and the way that the game is going to play in a hub sense, going from different place to different place. I kind of call it narrative zones and stuff, because I feel like you're going to go into certain areas where there's going to be a narrative plot for you that's going to be tied to that area, and you're gonna go through that narrative story driven part of it right then and there. But as soon as you're done with it, you're gonna leave that area and you're gonna go into the open vast of what the Zeta Halo can actually give you. It's gonna be a sandbox that's gonna be open and everything for you to play in, but their job is to keep you wanting to go through those narrative points as you go from place to place. Once you leave those places, then the world just opens up to do whatever you want to do inside of it until you get to the next narrative point. And that's their job, to steer you into those actual engagements when you actually do it. So I definitely think he won out when it came to the direction they're doing with the story ways.
So I want to say this. I think
go ahead and answer that question, OBM. I like what Forte said, but I want to make sure that you know that I still want you to answer that question.
He wants to hear it from you.
No, there's going to be a Halo like linear path through the game that you can complete in like a normal campaign kind of period of time. This isn't going to be some kind of game that's going to like have you grind away to,
it won't be that.
Yeah, it's not going to be a grindy game. I mean, some people could argue that like, hey, there's a lot of hooks in this to go in all different types of directions in the future, and that is true. I do think that for this particular game, though, you're going to get something that's going to allow you to stay a lot more focused if you want. I have listened to a lot of what Staten has said since he's come on, and just carefully, you kind of listen to the way they kind of carefully word the things they say, and he wants a game that feels like Halo. And so if there were things that
what did he tell you personally?
So let's just say, like, hypothetically, there was like crafting and inventory. And
okay, so like we're pretending he didn't say it to you personally. Okay, go ahead.
He didn't say anything to me. Good Lord, stop it. But like, if there was stuff like that, that didn't make the game like Halo, I feel like that those are some of the things that would have been that would have been addressed. And the fact that this game was delayed over a year, that the fact that co-op's not ready right now, and the fact that you had to some developers even online go, oh, well, that changed since I've been there. They were on Twitter and then they deleted their post. I think that gives you enough information to inform you that that there has been some design changes. And when you listen to him and how he values Halo feeling like Halo, I think that some of the stuff may have been pulled back and streamlined. I will say, though, that within this open world, as long as they keep it optional, there is some opportunity to do things that I've already expressed on this show before that Ubisoft games, just like looking at them, fatigue me now. I bought Valhalla and I uninstalled it after 10 hours, and I think I said I was done after that. So like when I saw those things initially, I like all the things that you're saying, Enrique, like they like that sort of correlation did kind of hit my nerves in a little bit of a way where I had to rewatch it again and again before I was sure about it. But the thing that's different about Halo is the moment-to-moment gameplay. And I just think the sandbox gives them opportunities that if they design those well and make them diverse enough, there's a lot of opportunity to create some things that feel very Halo, but they kind of modernize the game. Because I do think they have to at least have the options to appeal to the modern gamer, because the modern Let's be honest. The reason why those like we just talked about Guardians of the Galaxy, the reason why those games don't get made as often. I mean, they still get made. We know Sony has some success with some of those things, but the reason they don't get made as often is they just like the modern gamer, their expectations. They want to be able to go do stuff and collect stuff, and so I think Halo can pull it off. We have to wait and see how they do it, but I think that we shouldn't be as concerned about it being a Ubisoft, rinse and repeat, grind away type of game.
Well, on that point, I just want to inject an additional question as we kind of go around the room and hear from everyone else. One of the things I want to better understand, I'd like to better understand, is what are people expecting from Halo in terms of the longevity of the experience? Because from my perspective, all I'm not looking for investing a chunk of my gaming career into the Halo experience from this title. Right. All I'm asking for is the typical 6.5 to 10 hour canned single player campaign experience. I spent 50 plus hours in the Division 2. I've probably spent just as much time in Far Cry 5. Like I'm not necessarily looking for something that I'm playing into next year, right? Exploring, patrolling the galaxy like I do in Destiny 2, being an intergalactic cop. Right, and putting the smack down on like the 3 or 4 different warring factions in the Destiny universe. Right, so I'm kind of curious to hear that aspect.
Yeah, gaming logic. I don't think you have anything to worry about. I guess I'll just say that there will be a path. There'll be a campaign path.
So it'll be a real quick, man. I don't know if you saw your handle now.
Oh no! What? Oh, stop!
What is it? I need to.
No, and game logic. To my point, like I don't want to be overly involved in Halo. Like that's not Halo for me. Like I have other games that do that right and do that well. For me,
sure.
Like and OBM. I think I understand your point about these narrative driven games are harder to do because there's this new generation. But why some of that is true. We also know that those games do well if you really create a product that's just very unique and has high production values and is just. Sony's a great example of that. You look at God of War, you look at Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, they've been able to do it. And I'm not trying to compare. This isn't a Microsoft or Sony thing. So for me, like my expectation is just a really great science fiction story with a compelling character, Master Chief. I want to see what happens. Cortana, that's what I want. And if I'm gonna put any extra miles into this game, it's going to be on the multiplayer side, which for me that's always been the case with Halo. Like you finish the campaign and then jump into the multiplayer. So.
To your point, Enrique, if you think about some of Sony's open world games, they still give, even in the open world games, they give you that 15-hour beeline through the main story if you want.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So that's the one thing. And then like you could play Spider-Man. You could probably beat that. If you really just wanted to focus on the story, you could beat that, I think, in a weekend if you wanted to. But they give you all the extra stuff to screw around with if you want.
But part of my concern too is that
there's a way to balance that.
Part of my concern too is that we have 343 has never really, I think, made a complete Halo game, in my opinion. So, but I do want to open up to the rest of the panel too. I think Game Logic had a great question as well. So if anyone wants to address that on the panel, please go ahead. I don't know if you want to chime in, B. I think B, you had a lot to say earlier. At least you had a lot to say, I think, in the BRAP team about this showing.
I'll let Forte get his bars off first, and then I'll clean it up.
Forte's I'm playing Destiny right now. I can't.
No, actually, I'm making a thumbnail for my video. I'm making a Halo thumbnail, so that's what I'm doing right now. For me, I just think I like the direction. I think this is a direction that it kind of needed to go in. It's so many games. I mean, people get tired of it, but you also got to remember, I don't think it's going to really hurt the narrative direction of the game, because I think they're going to have that. You're not going to have that situation where you're going from chapter to chapter. You're going to have to go from one part of a ring to another part of a ring and explore the ring in order to get to the next part. I think that's going to be the biggest change for a lot of people. Instead of it just being a chapter select, you're going to have to, travel to different places to get there and everything. That's going to be the difference. But we got to remember that most people, like nowadays, they're used to the the whole kit and caboodle of like Grand Theft Auto, especially like online, that type of gameplay where it's like the sandbox is more of what you can do in it versus what it actually gives you when it comes to the narrative story beats and stuff. Because think about that. They didn't have heist in that game for almost the first full year that online was available. People were just playing in a sandbox, and that's all they truly cared about until they finally got those heists that gave you the narrative boost that actually took GTA Online to a whole completely different level. And I think that's kind of going to be what happens with Halo. My biggest question is, because I do feel like BRAP to an extent on one thing, where are we going to end the narrative storyline for this part of Halo Infinite? Because we already know that this is going to take place over the course of years. The fact that you're basically fighting one of Atriox's lieutenants in this game, you're not even at Atriox yet. You haven't even gotten to the big baddie, the one that everybody, the Spartan killer, the one that everybody feared inside of Halo Wars and an Awakening DLC. You haven't even gotten even a glimpse of what that's going to look like yet. So are we going to basically be going from plot point to plot point, taking out leaders until we get to that point? Is that going to be 2 years from now? Is that going to be 3? Who really knows how it's going to be? What's the story narrative going to be, and how are they going to line that up to sync across the game every season until you get to that, climactic end? I think that's the biggest thing a lot of people are really kind of worried about. But as long as they find a way to narratively tie up each part of the experience to make you want to come back and do more, that's all they need to kind of really do. I think the days of Halo just being this sit down, play it, and just play multiplayer, I think is kind of over. They're going to want, multiplayer is going to always be that thing that keeps people engaged when the story elements are kind of being worked on in the back end if you're not doing any of the sandbox stuff. But Halo is going to kind of evolve more and more over the course of the generation. And I think that's the thing that kind of scares people the most, because that's not something that they were used to, but that's kind of the direction games are kind of going in. And some people just, if you like that, you like it, but if you don't, it's understandable. But I think by the time it's all said and done, Halo will be in a better place because it's going to bring a younger audience back to the game. It has the potential, I should say, to bring a younger audience back to the game by doing something different, because we already saw when they kind of stayed the same what happened from that.
All that sounds, and not saying it's a bad thing, all that sounds very much like Destiny 2.
It is.
I will readily admit, I mean, whether it's Destiny 2 or
with a better story, story though.
Yeah, I will readily admit, and I have to ask the question too, why would I invest the money, right, in Halo development if it didn't have a longer term revenue tail than just that 6.5 to 10 hour single player campaign? So I get that, right, and totally understand from a business model perspective, it needs to be something that endures beyond that normal endpoint, right, of a Halo 2, Halo 3 kind of thing. So yeah, interesting.
No, I think you're going to get, that's the thing with, people ask me that on the podcast, I did the Iron Lords podcast that day. We talked about the length of the game. I think you're going to get that 6 to 8 hour campaign experience in this game. I do think you're going to get a beginning, middle, and end. I just try to remind people that the end that you're going to get is not going to be the true ending of this game, because you're not even faced with the one person that runs all this stuff that everybody knows who it is, and it's going to be the build up to get to that person. So over the course of however long it takes to do it, you could be this game could easily, campaign wise, turn into over 100-hour experience depending on how long they wanted to play out. But I do think just this version of Halo, the Halo that we're going to get on December 8th, I do think if you speed run it, like on normal difficulty, it's probably going to take you 4 to 5 hours, maybe 6 tops. If you do what a lot of people like to do, the legendary runs through, it's probably going to take you a little longer, like 8 to 10, maybe 11 on the high end, depending on what's going on in the game. And then after that, it really comes down to the experience you want to put into the game when it comes into the open world. But if you fast track through the story missions, you'll be done with the game in 6 to 7 hours. So I do think You are going to get that. It just comes down to how are they going to, add on to that in the future. But I do think it's going to be a complete game just in this iteration of the story when they release it on December 8th.
Yeah, I feel very confident we're going to get like the upfront canned, limited scenario. But I think on the back end, what we're headed towards is Halo as a platform, Halo as a service.
Yeah.
And maybe the beauty in that will be the realization of what BioWare really wanted to make out of Anthem.
Let's not go. Let's not.
We need to go here. We need to go here because that's actually was going to be a part of my point when you guys were done, is that like this whole we want to make this a 10-year game thing, that has never worked. Anyone who has said that has never actually accomplished that. Anthem said they wanted it to be a 10-year game. It lasted a year.
Yeah, I mean,
2 months. Right.
We're at 7 years. We're at 7 years with Destiny.
If I would have got past the first week, it might have had a chance.
Also said that it did not do that as well because we have a Destiny 2. So
they were supposed to be a Destiny 3. What are you talking about? It was supposed to be 3 games under Activision, but they bought themselves out before they got to the 3rd game. So Destiny was always going to have a Destiny 1 and a Destiny 2. They just never got to Destiny 3 under Activision.
So, one thing, guys,
it still isn't actually accomplishing whatever goal they started out
at.
The
goal was over a 10-year period, and they got DLC all the way out.
Look, I know you defending Bungie because it's Destiny.
Because I love Bungie.
But no, this is wrong. Because if they had a particular way to do it, and they had to switch from that, they're not even using the same publisher anymore. And you don't even know what they're going to do 5 years from now. So it's not.
Yes, we do. We do know what they're doing. We know
you don't even know what they're doing from 6 months to 6 months. Okay,
listen, we know.
Y'all are perpetually upset with everything that they do. They take stuff away from y'all, and then y'all get up like stop acting like you know what Bungie's doing. You don't.
Forte, let Slomo make his point, man. Go ahead, Slomo.
Thank you. He cut me off because you defending Destiny.
Acidine right now.
No, wait.
You don't even know what my point is.
You let him make his point.
Heard about Destiny.
Let him make his point.
You
Forte.
talked about Destiny in the wrong. Okay, go ahead.
Let him make his point.
Look, it ain't your wife. Easy, man. Come on. Look. Anytime. All right. Thank you. So, anytime a company says we want to do a 10-year, we have a 10-year plan for this game, it never actually turns out in the long term to be what they want it to be. What they're attempting to do here, I think you have to either go all in or go back to something else. You have to go all in, because going all in would actually be doing what these looter shooters do. Now, I'm not saying necessarily on the RPG elements with leveling and stuff like that, but the content, the way the content is delivered, you have to do that, because if you're really trying to get this younger generation to pick up Halo and kind of take it even further than what the current Halo community has done, you need to look at the kind of games that they play and look at how those developers deliver content to them. The whole, some of you guys have talked about, well, then you have this campaign, and then you have seasons, and then a year or two from now, or 2 or 3 years from now, you get the next story update. That's too long. That's too long of an update. You have to have that come sooner. You need to have an annual release.
That's where that budget story comes in, I believe.
Yeah, because if you don't have that, you're going to lose people. That's where other looter shooters have messed up, where they aren't able to keep up with actual demand for that content, or when they do keep up with it, it's not enough of it because it takes a lot. Like you have 343 is big enough, but the Division had 6 developers working on that game. Bungie is a 700 developer studio, and the only game they've come out with is Destiny. So what the bulk of those people are working on is Destiny. 343 needs to be really focused on making sure that content loop don't miss deadlines, don't delay too far out of whatever release period you said it was going to be at, to actually keep people engaged. It's difficult. Anthem, they had a roadmap. They actually delivered on 0% of their roadmap.
So I won't disagree with some of that, but I do want to inject maybe some some technical additions to here. So I believe, my perception is, when we're talking about a 10-year game or a 15-year game from a hypothetical standpoint, I think, at least when I pose that notion, it's stringing together a narrative point of continuity, and so I don't really care about whether it breaks publisher or breaks stride on even a numeric version. What matters to me in my head as a Destiny player is the fact that I have continuity back from Destiny through what I've played up through Destiny 2.
No, right? You don't, because you can't play that old stuff no more.
That's because the stuff was vaulted, but I'm talking about when I think about the story, and I'm not talking about how you perceive it. I'm talking about how I perceive it.
I'm talking about how all games are created in ongoing games. Literally every single ongoing game still allows you to play the very beginning of it.
I might not have to say anything else after this.
I think that's a concept that's not universally true. But here's what I'll say.
Okay, so what other games are vaulting the older content in an ongoing game?
I don't know.
And WoW, you can still play the very beginning of WoW. In all other ongoing games, whether it's an MMORPG, whether it's a looter shooter, you can still play the very beginning of. Imagine Borderlands 2 saying you can't play the base content no more. You just got to deal with the expansions because they're coming on with new expansions. That wouldn't make sense.
So the Borderlands franchise is not something that's linked through continuity from beginning to end. It's broken across the 3 versions.
I'm using it.
You've got to decide and choose on the paradigm of narrative continuity that you're talking about. We may just be talking about different things. From my perception, I have a character that I started with Destiny that's still the character that I'm playing through on Destiny 2, and in my mind, how that story is linked, it has narrative continuity. The technical basis for that is I don't think that there's any game that can maintain well or realistically technical continuity across a 10-year time period because the technology moves, right?
Agreed.
So one of my points on Halo would be,
oh my God. Okay, look, no, wait, go ahead. Because I'm just saying, I've used examples of games like WoW, where you used to have the same character all the way to how long has WoW been out? 2 decades?
I'll go back to what I said, which is that cannot
you said narrative continuity. I gave you narrative continuity.
Let him finish his point, Slow-Mo.
Yeah, let me finish stringing this whole thing together. Okay. Right? My point is whether or not you can do it well, and I make a bifurcation between narrative continuity and technical continuity. Right. My point on the Halo franchise and the potential that it can actually do that and do it technically well across a 10-year time period is the fact that that's a studio that's embedded within Microsoft. That's a studio that's embedded within a software company, and that's a studio that's embedded with somebody who's on the technical forefront of how this type of thing can be done.
Yeah.
The dream of Anthem and the hope of Anthem was to create a technical framework by which they could deliver content in a containerized environment and abstract it from the infrastructure of the game, which is exactly what you do in the cloud and with a lot of the technologies that Microsoft is on the forefront of. The point of Halo would then be to containerize those story elements in that framework, abstract it from the infrastructure, and then carry the infrastructure forward across technical versions while still maintaining the story and the narrative components within the framework within a container. That would be my point on what the possibility is of Halo carrying forward into 10 years or beyond.
That's a very interesting point, Gabe. Like, you basically taking advantage of the cloud technology, being able to stream games at high fidelity, if you were high quality, without having to, like we said earlier, spend $500 on a new console, right? Like, you wouldn't have to worry about doing that.
For what you just said, I have no issue with that. Although that doesn't counter anything I was saying about.
It counters everything, Slow-Mo.
I think you guys are talking about 2 different things. By the way.
It really doesn't, Enrique. I know you're trying to troll, but like that was poor.
It was not poor, sir.
It was a bad troll.
I think you guys are talking about 2 different things.
We are talking about 2 different things. What I was talking about was actually delivering content on a consistent basis before your community checks out. Because when you're doing this kind of ongoing thing, and it's across genre, it's not just say like a Destiny or an Anthem or the Division. It
you got to keep
be
engagement.
Apex Legends, Fortnite. The way they deliver content and the way they change things up and keep it fresh. That's the reason why your younger generation still plays those games, right? It stays fresh.
Dynamic,
you can't have just
dynamic,
a new season with some minimum changes, but nothing big changes from season to season. You could do that for maybe 6 months, but at some point, you're going to have to shake it up in a major way to keep them invested. If you don't, they'll go somewhere else because there's always a new kind of game that does that that's coming out because all these publishers want that kind of money.
But I also think that a lot of games like this want you to move on to something else. They don't want you
not all going. Daggone well, Bungie don't want you going anywhere else but playing Destiny.
They literally tell you in updates like, "Yo, if you're tired of the game, go play something else. The game will always be here for you to come back."
But then they structure the missions in a way where it takes you forever to get it completed.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Yeah, I think a lot of you guys are
about that.
I think a lot of you guys are talking
know about that. I know about that. Come on now.
That's because you can get stuck in a floor on something.
Hey, real quick, I want to let OBM chime in. I do want to get to B Money because I know B Money's been waiting and wants to chime in. So
He's
go ahead,
waiting
OBM.
for a while. Yeah. No, I was going to say, that's the thing. Microsoft does have you got to remember, they have a different model here. They aren't in Bungie. Bungie only wants you playing Destiny. That's the only thing they make. That's the only way they make money is if you're playing Destiny.
Well, they're making a new game, but yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. They want you playing their game. They want you to play their games all the time as much as they can get you to play their games. Microsoft has a different model where they want Halo to bring you in. I think ideally, if you're only playing one game, you don't need to subscribe to Game Pass. So just remember that. So they want you to come in to play Halo, but then to jump in on other things, see other things, talk about other things, because what that does is it drives in different types of consumers. So I don't think that Halo is going to be made. I don't think there's ever going to be a time where they're going to make Halo single player something that's going to demand 100 hours from you on a single drop. I do think that Slomo's right though, that the goal is, and we've already seen it even with Sea of Thieves, like the fact that that's got 25 million people. It's because they bring out steady content that people keep coming back for. It's not my game, but what they've done has been very successful. They have three or four teams that are constantly working on their own campaign, and then they're on.
I hope Halo does become Sea of Thieves. But go ahead.
Oh well, I don't know if that's a good. So I do think that the Halo is going to have.
They may actually like that actually, considering the kind of community that's consistent with Sea of Thieves is much bigger than what's currently now for Halo. But my bad, go ahead.
No, they do want you to keep coming back to it, right? So they want you to keep coming back to it. They want it to stay in the mind share, all that stuff. So I would expect, like Slomo, what you were saying there, I agree with you. I do think constant content is going to be the thing. I think it's going to be a little bit different though, and I think there's. So I actually have some friends on my show that are very, like I said, very skeptical about this on 10-year thing. I mean, I think a lot of people that were even Halo fans. I would say there's some opportunity because of the Game Pass thing, because they don't need it to be a 100-hour game, that they could drop 10-hour campaigns yearly, or 8-hour campaigns, whatever, like on a yearly basis, and as long as they're good, and to Gamer Logic's point that the stories are cohesive, that they're all tying in and they make sense. I think that they have a chance to maybe establish a unique model because the platform is unique with Game Pass. So I just want to kind of put that out there, because I think sometimes we do look at the downfalls. We look at the Ubisoft games, and like I said, I am not a fan of those games anymore. But you also got to look at the flip side. There is opportunity here, especially to build upon a great game, in my opinion, a great gameplay loop in Sandbox. So now I'll let B Money finish.
Yeah. B, why don't you chime in, because I know you wanted to chime in earlier, and you want to get I think Slomo Forte spit off their bars, as they say. So yeah, go ahead, B.
I mean, in regards to the original question, as far as the showing, to me it was a disappointment. I mean, they announced it on a Sunday, came out on a Monday, super early. It was 7 minutes long. It was not really in depth like I wanted it to be. They didn't explain any of the things that all you guys are talking about in this discussion. You know what I mean? So for me, it was just wasting my time, really. You know what I mean? I wouldn't normally get up to, tune in anything like that. You know what I mean? If I wasn't like, somewhat interested in the game, for me, that was kind of a waste of my time. You know what I mean? For me, they could have waited until I believe they're doing a 20th anniversary event or something like that. Like they could have just threw that in there and everybody would have been happy and got the same reaction. But kind of like try to drum up some hype for Monday morning. That was all in the face for me. I mean, waste of my time. So, you know what I mean? A lot of things that you guys discussed as far as like, what they're going to do with the open world and what we should expect as far as from story content and things like that. You know what I mean? It's all over the place. We don't know what the hell they're going to do. Like it could be Destiny, it could be Anthem, it could be a lot of things. But until they explain exactly what it is, then it's all up in the air. I mean, the game comes out in basically a month, 5 weeks or whatever. So I guess we'll see then. Hopefully they explain a little further in the coming weeks. But to me, I don't really care at this point about the campaign. Just release the multiplayer. I'll play it for a couple weeks and then back to Battlefield.
I hear you, Pete.
I'm with you on that.
I hear you. I'll probably be on Battlefield this year. No, great points, B. Well, if I do want to wrap up this last topic in the show as well. But before I do that, I want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. See a spirited debate amongst the console brand enthusiasts. I'll just leave it at that, back and forth. But no, I want to thank everyone for hanging out. Please, if you haven't done so, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up. And if you're new, like or subscribe and hit the bell notification so that you are alerted when we go live. So, but it's great to be back. Like I said, we were off last week and missed everyone. Just great to be back here.
Missed you too.
Discussing video games. Yeah. So, So what
can I say one quick thing?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead. Yeah.
I didn't really get to talk about my thoughts on the campaign.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead,
no one cares.
See. This is why the name is what it is. I thought the visuals were improved. They took care of the pop in, they took care of the draw distance issues, and they took care of the lighting issues. I thought they added additional texture, detail to like the weapons and parts of the environment, the armor of the enemies and stuff like that. So all that stuff was good. But overall, like people can say it's art direction, but I think it's just like the overall like visual presentation isn't on par with what people expect from a game that's been in development this long. And so that is still like is what it is. It doesn't look like the most beautiful thing you've ever seen, but it's not an ugly game either. So it's all right, I do kind of like how you can upgrade certain parts of the armor now, upgrade to actually getting the thrusters that were from Halo Guardians. They showed that. I thought that was a nice touch. I don't know about them using I forgot the guy's name, but the lieutenant to Atriox using his cinematic face. Like that's kind of like, and then having a dev to have to tweet out, that's not in game. I mean, how many people are going to see that tweet versus the people that saw the trailer? So it's like I think that was probably a bad move on actually showing that. But overall, I thought it was fine. I just don't think visually it's going to do anything that really wows anybody.
Yeah, I hear you, man. That's great points for it. I almost called you Forte. Slow-mo. Those are great points, man. And I like how you've been angering Destiny stands since 2019. That's great, man. But by the way, real quick, if you were interested in the dialogue back and forth between Slow-mo and Forte, you need to check out their show tomorrow, DPS Podcast, which at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know whose channel is going to be on this week.
Forte.
All right, so check out Gaming Forte's channel on YouTube, and definitely check these two gentlemen out. You'll get more of this friendly banter on their channel. So I want to give a big shout out to, again, everyone in the live chat. Thank you, everyone, for coming by and hanging out with us. Big shout out to our first-time guest here, Game Logic. Game Logic, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on. You definitely would love to have you back on again to talk some video games. But if you want to be found, let everyone know they can find you on the Twitters.
He's on mute.
Oh, he's on mute. Okay, we'll have to go back to Game Logic then. All right, so let's go to. Is he there?
He's off
he
mute now.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I hit my hardware mute instead of my software mute.
Oh no worries.
You can find me at. I'll put where you can find me at Twitter on chat. But I would actually say if you're really looking for me online, look for Rounding Off Infinity. Just spell that all one word.com, and you'll find my blog and my YouTube channel and my podcast. So that would probably be the easiest way to find it.
Absolutely. But no, man. But seriously, great. Just great having you on. Really enjoyed the conversation, and like I said, we'd love to get you back on again in the future. So thank you again. Then we got my man OBM, One Bad Mother or One Bad Insider, as we as he's been come to know. Yeah, come on, OBM. You still haven't answered the question, but that's okay, man.
Wait, what was the question? I did chase some squirrels. I do apologize. So
yeah, I forgot, man. But no, man, great. Always great having you on, man. Let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, man. No, thanks for having me on again. Always fun to talk gaming, game logic. Nice to meet you, man. I think you brought up some some really insightful things there, and then the rest of the panel, like as always. It's always fun to be part of the banter and being here when Slow-Mo and Forte kind of go at it. If you guys want to find me again, I will actually be having a podcast tomorrow about Halo. You had me at Halo. We're under the Xbox era umbrella. That will probably be around 8. I'll try to go. We'll see if we can get a little earlier so we can be done before Slow-Mo and Forte show. But yeah, if you guys want to catch me on there, I am a senior editor over there. Also, you can catch me on Twitter at my handles at mother_1. Or if you're looking to find somebody to play Halo with when it comes out, because I put in over 2,000 hours in Halo 5's multiplayer. I probably will put in a lot here. I won't be mostly on Battlefield. So look me up at One Bad Mother, all one word. And like I said, it was a good time. Good chats, and everybody have a great night.
All right. What one bad shut your mouth? That's funny. All right. That's pretty funny.
Who's got? We got to take away some permissions here.
I don't know who did that, but I can
get. Doing that?
I can guess by the evil laugh, though.
Honestly, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah. I was thinking of it when I made that name 20 years ago.
That's funny.
When I was a day one Xbox Live person.
That's funny. On that note, we got a gentleman who goes by Angering Destiny Stances 2019. Slow-Mo Backslap. Slow-Mo, man, always a pleasure having you, man. Let everyone know they can find you, sir.
You can find me pissing Forte off tomorrow night on DPS podcast. That's Damage Per Second podcast at 9 p.m. Eastern on his YouTube channel, Gaming Forte. We're going to have a great show. We're probably going to talk about Halo Infinite as well as some other topics that we probably didn't get a chance to get to tonight. So come on through and come hang out with us.
Awesome.
Oh, man. Yeah, my bad. I have a YouTube channel too. Come check out my channel.
Yes, I was going to say that. Yeah. Slow-Mo Backslap. Check him out on YouTube and on Twitch as well. So, and let Forte, man, always a pleasure, sir. We got to figure something out with these PS5s, man. But let everyone know they can find you, man.
Oh yeah, great show. Shout out to everybody that came through. Shout out to Game Logic and One Bad Mother. I expect to see you in the line on Friday, for Enrique with a sign around your neck saying for him.
Let's make it happen.
I didn't stand in line for myself.
He ain't even stand in line for himself.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Well, so Gaming 14 everywhere, YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation. Come check us out on DPS. Got a video going live tomorrow talking about why open world in Halo Sandbox was a much needed thing. So that's going to be coming out in the morning. Get you ready for DPS and the argument I'm going to probably have with Slow-Mo and a couple of other things. But other than that, man, it's been a great show. You guys enjoy the rest of your day and play some games and enjoy them.
Absolutely. And last but not least, a gentleman who, if you're not listening to, or you're not listening to when he speaks, you should, because this man's got, I don't know, man. He tends to be spot on with certain predictions and things like that, like maybe a big December announcement, but I don't know. Anyhow,
that's be knowing shit 101, man.
Be knowing shit 101 is his name. B Money, man. Let everyone know they can find you, man.
Yeah, man, you can find me everywhere. Same name, B Money 101. I'm getting ready for gaming season, man. I just picked up Guardians of the Galaxy. Battlefield's right around the corner, so looking forward to that, man. You can find me there once that releases. That's probably the only place I will be. So
yeah, I'll be there
if you're trying to play.
I'll be there, man. I know Strictly's doing servers. He's hosting servers on Battlefield, so yeah.
Oh, he is. Oh, he's doing. So I ain't gotta do it this time. Thank God.
I'm such a Battlefield noob. Do you have to pay money for that?
Yes, you do.
You do.
Yes.
Yeah.
How much is it?
I don't remember. Is it like
depends on it.
It was like Battlefield 4. It was like for 1 day service, it was like $1.
But is it like
I used to do
a month
like,
or something?
Yeah, I used to do the
$5 a month.
I used to do the 90-day server, which was $15 for 3 months.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay. Like you don't want your server to just like get spun down. You would just kind of like do like an ongoing payment kind of thing. Just like, look, I'll let you know when to stop charging me, right?
Yeah. Well, you could only in Battlefield 4 you could only pay for every 3 months. So every 3 months they would they didn't automatically take it. It was like a you would buy it through the Xbox store and it would go to EA. So, so you would actually
it couldn't be an automated thing. I got you.
Yeah, it wasn't automated. You had to actually purchase it. When it ran out, it would say your subscription had ran out. Then you just repurchase it again.
Yep.
Because you keep the same server name and all that other stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all that stuff was super custom. I mean, who knows what they're going to do with Battlefield, 2042, but that's how
you could like choose map rotations, different game type modes. All that stuff could rotate if you want to, or you could just do like one map and one game type if you want to.
I do want to say before we leave, I didn't get a chance to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm not going to talk that much about it, but the game is fire. I didn't expect it to be as good as it actually is. I'm cool, about 4.5 hours in, and I'm like,
game of the year.
I'm not far enough in. I mean, well, I'm kind of skewed. I don't want to call anything game of the year because I barely played.
Are you going to beat it?
Destiny. I'm gonna beat this. This is fun.
He's gonna.
I'm gonna beat
this.
This is gonna be the first game you beat in like
2 years,
3 years.
No, since Death's Door.
You beat Death's Door? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, cool. Well, look, everyone. Thank you again. Big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Again, hit that like button if you're new. Subscribe. Hit the bell notification so that you're alerted when we go live. And again, a big thank you to our guests this evening. And BRAP will be back next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Big shout out to our man Eric Jackson who couldn't make it tonight. EJ, we miss you, man. But we'll see you back next week. Again, everyone, have a great rest of the week. Enjoy your time playing video games. There's definitely a lot to play out there right now. More importantly, just have fun playing. So we'll catch you next week. We're out. Peace.
Twitter Spaces are not games.
Oh, my goodness.
No achievements or trophies.